Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. If you guys are missing the party that I'm about to have right now, I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy the replay, but what really makes it fun is you being part of it. So make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you will never miss a party. Real quick before we jump in, of course, we got to give a shout out to the one, the only, MySickShirt.com, sponsor of the stream. I just wore this Hard Times Create Strongman shirt out today for Labor Day lunch. A bunch of cool designs, whatever your persuasion, including the official Indian Jesus merch. Go and get you some. So who we got? Hey, we got Alex in the building. What's going on, Alex? Everybody's going to be coming in shortly. But that gives me a little bit of time to, talk about a little something that was on my mind. Before we get into the actual topic, happy Labor Day to everybody. I went out to dinner or lunch with my family, my immediate family, my parents, my brother, my sister, and my sister's boyfriend, or whatever the hell they are. This was the first time that I had seen, well, not my parents, but this is the first time I'd seen my siblings in over 2 years. Over 2 years. They were people who were very into the fear mongering of the Rona regime, and so even it happened to be that my birthday is right around Thanksgiving, and so when Thanksgiving 2020 came around, I wasn't allowed. That's usually my birthday celebration. That's usually when we as a family will celebrate my birthday. We had missed my 30th birthday. Just, I don't know. I guess nobody really cared to do anything. But, whatever. I hung out at home with the dog. But I figured, especially since, all that stuff was going down, especially with the holiday, maybe we would do a little something for my birthday. But they were too scared. We didn't know too much then. Whatever. Fine. I'll take Christmas. You guys go enjoy Thanksgiving, and I'll come for Christmas. Christmas comes around, and my brother decides that whatever plans he had, he's not doing anymore, and so he's going to go to my parents' house, which means either I've got to go and stay in the garage, or I guess that's my only option, or not go. So I skipped that Christmas too. And I figured, okay, by next year, you guys will all have your jabs and it won't be a problem. Well, I was wrong. I don't know how many of you have been cast out of your family for any reason, whether it's, whether it has to do with your religion or maybe you're gay and your parents aren't down with that or whatever. Not fun. And I wasn't cast out. I was just kind of put in this box until the government said it's okay to be around unjabbed people. And that time came. I was with them today. I wasn't really expecting any kind of apology or, even I wasn't expecting much of anything. But it really, really would have been nice just to hear an acknowledgement, especially with all the newer research that we've seen that, the jabs aren't really that good. And, as we've known, that Rona isn't really that bad. Would have been nice for somebody at that table to say, hey, man, whatever politics, but I'm glad to finally see you again. I'm sorry that we couldn't do this during the lockdown. I acknowledge, even if you're not sorry, And if you think I'm stupid and I should have gotten the jab and I would have been able to get my holidays, if that's what you think, that's fair. But again, just acknowledge, like, hey, I missed out on, the last 2 years of being part of a family. And we're already pretty estranged as it is. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the last time the 5 of us are sitting at a table together. But it wasn't about me. It was to celebrate my dad's birthday. He just turned 70 this weekend. And shout out to him. He's always been there for me. And especially with this channel, he's helped a lot. And I really appreciate that. Hey, we got Trey in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You just missed my little pity party monologue. But now we are getting into what we're getting into. So if, thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. But enough sulking. Enough sulking. Today, we are going to see, is Rollo still the red pill godfather? So those of you who are not familiar, this would be Rollo Tomassi, the author of The Rational Male, the book The Rational Male. If you have not read The Rational Male, I highly suggest to read The Rational Male. It's a very good breakdown of the things like hypergamy, things like female solipsism, the gynocentric social order, all of that stuff. It's a great, exactly, Alex. There you go. Resurrecting. That's how we do. And the so I don't know exactly when the book was written, but you can see he's a little bit of an older guy, and there's a lot that's gone on in the in the dating landscape, just in recent time, even since he's written the book. Again, let me look that up. Let's see. The Rational Male. The Rational Male. There we go. It was written 2013. So about 10 years ago. And a lot has changed since then. So definitely at the time he wrote it, everything was on point. On point. And that's why he's so revered in the red pill space. Especially, there seems to be a black red pill space and a I guess non-black white red pill space. You have more of your like O'Shea Jacksons and just other people in that space. But on the non-black side, it's Rollo. It's been Rollo, but I don't know. He's getting older. He might be a little out of touch. He's been married for a while, and maybe he's just not with it anymore. Or maybe he's just lost in the sauce. Maybe he just drank too much of his own Kool-Aid and thinks he knows everything. But what this is I actually wanted one version closer. This is Rollo reacting to Destiny, reacting to Rollo. So I was looking for just Destiny reacting to what Rollo was saying, because that's the more interesting part. But we'll just skip around Rollo's stream here and see what he's got. So we're not going to play the whole thing. I just want to get to the specific parts about Destiny. He has a little thing here about caveats and sanitizing the red pill that I think you guys will enjoy. Otherwise, let's get into it. Make sure if everybody could hit the like button, I would really, really, really appreciate that. All right, let's do it.
What does that mean? Uber Alice. That means this.
As always, you know how StreamYard can be with sound. If you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Sisterhood above all. I believe that's German, right? But it's the sisterhood for it's by women for women. When if you've read my fourth book, Religion, there's a part in there, there's a full chapter in there called the Goddess Movement, saying you can also relate the sisterhood of Borealis to how do women organize and create religion. What does a religion by women for women look like?
Feminism.
I explore that in that book. So it's not just about politics. It's not just about organizing society. It's not just about UN, Women's Council on Climate Change or whatever the hell it is, right? It's not just about that. It's everything. It's all of it. So, I think what I don't think enough people really appreciate is the fact that when I start talking about red pill things or women's nature or men's nature, it scales up. it scales up from the micro to the macro. So when I talk about like what the proliferative phase of a woman's menstrual cycle or something, we're going down to the micro at that point. But when you talk about ovulatory shift and we talk about like what it is, why is it that women want, masculinized guys at one point, they want feminized guys at another, why is the alpha C, beta me? How does that scale up to the personal level? How does that scale up to the family level? How does that scale up to the tribal level, meaning like your various tribes, whether that's your religion or your politics?
So he's basically he was talking about, taking pieces of the red pill as opposed to swallowing whole, I guess. And he's just talking about at what level do you apply it and what level do you stop?
Or your workplace or your sports team or whatever it is. How do women do tribalism differently than men? How do women do economics differently than men? How do women do politics? How do they do religion differently than men? How do women do life differently than men? Because we're finding that out right now. And whenever I get people asking me like, Rollo, where's all this going? When is the pendulum going to swing back? When are men going to sack up? You know who just said that? Patrick Bet-David. And I've got a
smart guy.
A clip of Pat here in just a second. I'll throw at you. But we're right now smack dab in this push because everybody wants to put their foot in the manosphere right now. Everybody wants to at least, not maybe swallow the red pill, but just put it on my thing, taste it a little bit and see if it's okay, right? Or it's what I call the pick and pull method, which is like, it's like going to the pick and pull pickup parts lot where you go and you find all the car parts that you need in the junkyard and you pull, I need this, I need a distributor cap, I need that, I need all this crap, right? It's like whatever it is that you want out of the red pill like junkyard, right? Whatever it is you want out of the manosphere, you're just going to pick and pull those things, and that's going to be whatever red pill happens to be to you.
So remember when we were talking about Sneako's red pill rage and whether it was really red pill rage or whether he was just playing a character to get some more views or whatever was going on with him. He was talking to Abba from Abba and Preach, and he kept saying the phrase, making fun of people who would refer to a content creator, somebody they watch, and be like, well, I agree with some things I say, but not everything. And he was making fun of that notion as if that was silly. But of course, we should all know that you shouldn't just follow people blindly because they say a thing you like. Now, I expect that from a 22-year-old. I don't expect that from somebody who has pretty much developed not his own, but pretty much developed, he wrote the book. He literally wrote the book on it. I would expect him to understand that that's not how information works. People are different. Our lives are all different. And what we relate to and what's relevant to us is going to be different. So no, Rollo, not everything that you say is going to be directly applicable to my life, and I'm not going to care about it as much as everything else. I don't see anything wrong with that.
And that's a very ignorant way of going about it, but it's also self-affirming, I guess, self-evincing. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
As opposed to just following you blindly. I mean, that's not evincing, but it's evincing you. So I don't really know what you're saying here, pal.
But it's something that like being able to sort of pull the parts that you agree with and just hang on to those because they reaffirm what your previous blue pill ideological condition.
So the first part, he was fine. Yeah, you take the parts that you like and you leave the parts that you don't like. That's called thinking. You don't just, again, swallow every piece of new information that gets thrown at you because the person saying it one time said a thing you like.
Was, and okay, that aligns, that complements my blue pill understanding of the world, but I don't want the rest of this kind of stuff.
The rest of that's cope.
And so what happens is there's this attempt to sanitize the red pill. And by the way, this is probably the third cycle of this. I've written essays about women primarily back then, but now more so I think men, because men have their own like sort of online brands now. But they're trying to sanitize the red pill. Oh, this is what there's some they get some things right. Well, okay. Well, first of all, what, and then what don't they get right? And usually that what they don't get right is something that just doesn't align with their their spiritual beliefs, their political beliefs. It's just a bridge too far. I don't want to. I think what was I saying? Was it a Vlad or something like that? Somebody sent me a link to a Reddit post, and I had like DJ Academics.
So I just wanted to. I wanted to give that part, a little bit of an intro to show you where he is today, where he's coming from today, as of this video. Because if you've seen videos from him 5-10 years ago, that's maybe or maybe not the same Rollo. So let's see. So you get to the Destiny part.
On the horizon. Okay, so by the way, he's criticizing a clip. I want to say this was, God, when was this? This was this year.
So what we're watching, this is Destiny stream, and they are watching an episode of Fresh and Fit. Oh, I should have put that in the thing. Fresh and Fit, where Rollo is the guest.
It was like February or March of this year. And I don't say that to be like an asshole. I say that as sort of a warning. I think a lot, like whenever a guy says, oh, you're going to be lonely and a cat lady and you're going to have box wine and whatever, like, and you're going to be a spinster is basically what they're saying. And it sounds like revenge. It's not like guys are either too happy or they're too pissed off or too sad about like the state of women. I just go down to nuts and bolts. And I outline this actually in book 4 as well. There is a study by Morgan Stanley Financial. They did you can go find it too. It's online. It's called The Rise of the She Economy. And in that,
that's a terrible name. The She Economy.
In that sort of research, they postulate that by 2030, women between the ages of 25 and 44, something like 52%. I hope I'm getting my numbers right. Something like 45 to 52%.
It's over half.
Yeah,
it is going to be over half
of women of marriageable age will be single for the rest of their lives. They will not. They will not reproduce unless they get unless they get artificial insemination, but they will be unmarried and childless during those ages by 2030, which is like a very, very steep incline. In fact, they are so certain of this that they did this research on Morgan Stanley so their investors would know what to invest in the coming decade.
Wow.
So they're invest in box wine, right? And invest in cat toys.
I didn't get the wow. What was the wow there? Did you guys catch it? Did you guys catch a wow there? I must have missed it.
Invest in
it's not a joke, guys. When we say
in ovum freezing, in reproductive technology,
and pet dogs,
he'll tell
cats,
us.
dogs, whatever. What is going to be hot in the future, and this is what you can expect, and so this is what you should put your money into. So if we're already making predictions of where we should put our money, I think we need to look at why this is the way it is. Now, if you go and you follow the logic of Bloomberg or Morgan Stanley, Forbes, whatever, they will say this is a great success. This is a glowing, great progress of humanity. Well, finally, women are independent. Whenever you hear women say, like we heard last night from the 20-year-old girl, I want to give up my independence, right? Okay, I wanted to say this, but I didn't. Independent of what? Like you're
independent of man. I don't need no man.
What were you dependent on that you're now independent of?
Right.
And whenever we hear this, remember I was telling you about how we've been hearing the same lingo from feminists for a long time. That's one of them. I want to be a strong, independent woman. Okay, independent of what? Independent of men. That's what it is. And they've already achieved that. There's more women in college right now. They're making more money now. Women control way more money than men do. Yeah. So when you're talking about like the bullshit of the gender pay wage gap, whatever it is, it's not endemic sexism. If there's any gap, there's a gap in spending. There's a gap in control and authority over that spending. Women are the number one consumers in Western societies as it is.
Bam.
They also control, and again, another stat in the book is over the course of a family's history, women will control 90% of that family's wealth. Yep. That's car expenditures, that's college, that's we're going to go on vacation, we're going to buy this TV set.
Okay, sure, maybe, but all of this is like presented in like kind of a weird way. Like if the woman is the one that, and I think this is generally true, women are generally the ones that do the shopping. So in a way, they kind of quote unquote control the wealth, but it's a little bit misleading. They're not the ones earning the money, and they're shopping to like pay for the family, right?
So before he jumps in, what I would say to that is that I would agree with Destiny that it's not women who are making the Forbes top whatever list, but because they are the ones spending the money, even possibly even worse because they're not earning it, they're just spending it. The marketing for anything and everything goes towards women. That's at least what I think Rollo's point was.
Like women are getting all the like 80-90% of the wealth and then buying like Gucci bags. I guess maybe some are, but
this kind of stuff. Okay, that's fundamentally false. I got stats here. I'll throw up. Actually, I always put this one up, and it's too. Well, I'll start with this one. Okay, so actually, I'm pulling out real quick. Put that back in later. So here it is.
Let's see what we got in here. So it says enormous potential. The truth is, women wield a huge amount of influence over the economy, and their impact is only likely to grow. It says women control 51% of all personal wealth in the United States today. Over 40 years, women stand to inherit 28.7 trillion in intergenerational wealth, and women save 9% of their salary on average, almost a full percent more than men. I'm a little confused on he's using this word control, but as Destiny asked, like what exactly do we mean by control, and where are we going with that?
I don't know if you guys can see that. I've got another one I'll have to blow up a little bit here too, but I'll just read this one out too. This is pretty easy. Economics of feminism. Women control 51% of all personal wealth in the United States. Control. Okay. Over the next 40 years, women stand to inherit $28.7 trillion in intergenerational wealth.
And again, without talking about how much men get stand to inherit, that's kind of a meaningless number. Because if men stand to inherit 60 trillion, then what are we talking about?
Okay, women save 9% of their salary on average, almost a full percent more than men do. Okay, that's the United States. So those are a couple of data points I wanted to make you guys aware of. That's number one. The other one is, and I think I'll just show you guys this and share the screen. It's easier to do. Here we go. I have this as a slide, but it's easier to blow this up.
Also, a little shifty that all of his like this is not research. This is something you find on Instagram. And like I'm not saying it's not true, but a little weak.
Okay, so this is an infographic I'm fond of using. Let's see if I can roll down here. Okay,
and again, because I would understand why you're fond of using it, but have you checked to make sure it is legit? Because again, with the vague language, you would expect somebody who has researched this to clarify the parts that are a little bit more vague.
Purchasing power of women. Okay, when it comes time to buy, women are more often the decision makers and motivators. Recently, women have gained ground in earning, spending, and influence on household spending. Okay, so flooding the market, $7 trillion is contributed by women in the United States in consumer and business spending. 91% of women say they think advertisers do not understand them. Okay, 2/3 of consumer wealth in America will belong to women within the next decade. Okay, so it's not necessarily who's making the money. Now, I can even show you the other. I've got an Uber fact stat I'll bring up here in just a moment. But worldwide, women earn $18 trillion, but worldwide they spend $28 trillion, a full $10 trillion more than they actually earn. So yes, it does make a difference what women earn and what women spend. Because if women are spending and allocating the money that they didn't earn, which would presumably be by their husbands or by like men who are the ones making the money, and women are doing the spending, it's not about who's doing the earning. It's about who's allocating the funds, who's distributing the wealth, who is distributing the resources and the revenue.
Yeah, but he's still circling the point. Why do you care who is distributing the resources and revenue? Because it affects society. That's the part that you're missing. I think he knows that, but he's not. You have to say that part. That's the just saying things. Even when you're right. You can't get away with just saying things. You have to back it up. And it's, using numbers like this is fine. But the point that you're trying to make isn't underlined by these numbers. Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought Rollo was like the Godfather. Right? I mean, Kevin Samuels was always the Godfather to me, but like that's how people talk about him.
Is your wife the one who is in control of your finances? Is she also is the CFO of your company female? So it's not necessarily, and I'm going to show you some other shit here in just a minute.
But again, those are two different types of scenarios. Like if your wife is spending most of the money from the household, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that she is doing anything wrong. If she buys everything that you need and nothing that you don't, then what's the issue with her spending the money? The issue is what that leads to when you have Gillette ads that are shaming men for being men. That's why it matters. It's not just, well, men have to make more because this is the caricature of what an alpha mentality should be like. Trey says, how do they track these stats? Because my girl uses my card all the time, so how do they know the difference? I would again, I don't have a study here, so I'm assuming things like that are controlled for, and they would have like a variance, like a level of variance, because they would definitely track it based on whose card. But you know, they would have like okay, plus or minus. We assume that this is going to happen, plus or minus, 5% or whatever. Usually they have something in there, but again, we can't see that with just an infographic. You have to give us a study, and even I don't know if you can see down here, but it says stats with sources. I mean, okay, we're just in the beginning of the that part, so maybe he's gonna give us something better. But so far, it's just.
But it's not about who is doing the earning so much as it is who is doing the spending and who is allocating those funds.
Why, Rollo? Why?
50% of products typically marketed to men are purchased by women.
Which is a relevant point, because it's like right on the tip of his tongue. And you want to act like I'm supposed to swallow everything that you say whole because you wrote your books and this and that and that and that. But this is precisely why people will say, oh, I agree with some things he says, but other things I don't, because you're not right.
Just by women.
Notice I didn't say he's wrong. I just said you don't get to be right just by claiming it.
Public and personal public. 60% of all personal wealth in the United States is held by women. Of all stock ownership in the United States, women control 51%. These are the stats you never hear when we're talking about the gender pay gap.
Exactly. That is my point, Trey. My point is that because I understand what he is getting at, because he makes the same kind of arguments all over the place. That's he's going towards the notion that society is catered towards women because women spend all the money, which is absolutely at least an arguable point, at least an argument or a point that you can argue, but he's not getting there. He's just saying things. Hopefully, let's give him some grace. Maybe he'll get there. Maybe.
I don't care about the pay gap. I care about the spending gap. That's what I care about.
Why?
I care about where the money is being allocated.
Why?
Oh, well, it's not my money, but I'm going to be the one doing the spending. Right here. Here's what.
Why does that matter?
Here we go. Spending and power. 80% of healthcare decisions are made by women.
So what?
68% of new car purchase decisions are made by women. 75% of women.
This is why it's important to be able not only to know and understand things, but to be able to communicate them and articulate them to other people. Because he look at his face. He thinks he's, oh yeah, look at me, slam dunk. I'm getting in it. Like, you're not making the point you think you are, dude. You're just saying things.
Identify themselves as primary household shopper. 80% of all consumer purchases in the United States are made by women. It is not about who's doing the earning. It is about who's doing the spending. Because 65% of requested services at car dealerships are made by women. You would think it'd be the other way around, right? Women spend a combined...
Not really. If I'm working all day, and unless I'm buying like a sports car for myself, if I'm the head of a family and we need a new minivan, then my kids grow up and they need a car. Why wouldn't you be the one who is, taking point on that? I'm not saying that you have to, and not saying that I couldn't, but that makes sense. It makes sense. I agree with him, what he's thinking. I think that it's not good for society to be so heavily based on catering towards women instead of men, in place of men. That's, again, the point that I think he's making. but he's not making it. So Trey says, but what are they spending it on? I work 12 hours a day. My girl shops for my personal hygiene, my clothes, basically anything I ask her to get for me. Exactly. So the problem, I'm going on speculation because he can't spit it out. But the point is that because that is the case, then society is being catered to what she wants instead of what you want. And so on an individual level, yeah, you have your wants, needs, and desires. But when we're looking at the grander societal zeitgeist or whatever, if women are spending all of this money and men are just making it, then they don't care about the people who are making the money. They care about the people who are making them money, aka spending.
$200 billion on new cars and mechanical servicing of vehicles in the United States per year. Okay, so
again, if my car breaks down, that my job doesn't stop. So it would make perfect sense for me to rent a car and have her go and take the car in for servicing. I don't. He's going too far down the rabbit hole of presenting numbers without presenting a point. This is a perfect example of what not to do when you are trying to be persuasive.
I mean, it's not even a gendered thing at this point. What women buy, what women buy, purchases by women account for 91% of new homes. How does that, when we talk about how do women organize society, if they're not making the money, they're directing
so now we're back in the Destiny stream.
The flow of where that currency is going to. So don't give me this bullshit about, well, we need to make as much money as a man, and it's because of this endemic sexism and the patriarchy. Fuck you, because you're the one spending the money, and I got the stats to show you.
But I feel like after talking to Myron, I feel like talking to somebody like this would be way less interesting.
Whoa. I'm going to come back to this, Trey. Did y'all hear what Destiny just said? I don't know if Destiny knows how the rest of the Red Pill Manosphere community looks at Fresh and Fit and looks at Myron, as opposed to how they look at Rollo. Listen to what this outsider just said.
I feel like after talking to Myron, I feel like talking to somebody like this would be way less interesting.
Wow. Now, he did say the word interesting, and I definitely think that Myron is going to be a little bit more entertaining, regardless of whether he is accurate or not. So he didn't say that Rollo was wrong, but it's like, is this still the guy? I don't know. I mean, I'm not even subscribed to his channel anymore. I thought, it was kind of just a part of coming out of that red pill rage. Part of coming out of that stage is to clean house a little bit. And, this was, Kevin Samuel's still around. It was time for me to stop watching Fresh and Fit, even the After Hours show. Because even after I no longer thought they were people that I want to listen to, the After Hours show was still funny in a voyeuristic type of way. But I found that I was spending too much mental energy on this red pill stuff. And like I always tell you guys, the red pill should be a pit stop, not a home. And this is exactly why. This guy's in his 50s. And he can't make a point. He's so stuck in how much he knows about X, Y, and Z that he's not worried about communicating that and spreading that message. Trey said this is actually the first video I've seen him. Yeah, I mean, he's just not as relevant as he used to be. Like, I think he would have been, he definitely was one of Fresh and Fit's very first guests. And definitely, I think he was their very first returning guest. And again, I've read The Rational Male. It's a great book. It's very stripped down. It's not anything wild about, trying to pick up women. It's not very prescriptive when it comes to being with women. It's very straightforward and like, hey, this is the way things are. This is how things go. Da 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 da. And it all holds true. And ironically, has actual sources in the book, not just infographics. But that was a decade ago.
Yeah. You know why? Because you don't have jack shit to say. You don't have a counter argument.
To what? You haven't made an argument, dude.
Yeah, way less interesting. It would be a very short conversation. What do you say about these stats? I just gave them to you. I'll bring them along. Yeah.
Exactly. What do you say about these stats? Okay. That's not a conversation. You didn't do anything there, Rollo. That's not what a conversation. That's not a discussion. Do you honestly think that showing somebody an infographic is the same thing as discussing the details of evolutionary psychology with someone? What are we doing?
I got it all. I got a lot more to go too. So,
I bet you do.
It's just kind of silly. But
well, it's not silly. It is not silly when those decisions. Hell, the video game you're playing, the PC you're playing it on, 66% of those PCs are purchased by women.
He's still missing the point. He's still not hitting the point.
The decisions are made by women. It's not silly.
Why do you? Again, the argument that he should be making is why Destiny should care that that's the case. Why Destiny or anyone should care that it's the case. Like Trey said earlier, he's just saying things. He's just giving us stats. Okay, great. You've got stats. But I've got stats on, I could look up stats on how many cows die on an average farm every week. What does that tell me about anything? I need some sort of context to put those stats in so that I can understand what it is that you are trying to say.
You just don't know that it's going on around you. Again, like I said, that's why we call it the Matrix, my friend.
Fair enough, but you're not helping.
It's the world that's going on around you. That right now.
Damn,
son, where'd you find this?
And I'll say this real quick, Rollo. Women spend so much money that a male company like Gillette will risk losing business,
financial ruin,
to crap on men so that they can appease to women because they understand even with male razors, women are the predominant consumers. So that goes to
So there, Myron finally gives the point. That's because, I told you guys 10 minutes ago. But how bored, you probably would have left if I didn't. You'd be like, this guy's still talking about how women have so much money. What is the point? This is not proper communication. This is not doing your job as a YouTuber. It's just bad. This is just a bad argument. Or, lack thereof.
show you guys how strong women are the consumer base in the West, man. Even
That's
male companies are ostracizing their own target audience to sell to women.
Also, I'll add to that as well. So, a lot of people don't know this, but behind a lot of tech companies.
I think they're talking about that, like the anti-rape commercial they made. Maybe they're really mad about that commercial.
Okay, no, it wasn't an anti-rape commercial. It was a Gillette commercial that was meant to sell razors. That's what it was. And it was not even a commercial. It was like a small mini movie. And by the way, was directed by an infamous militant feminist, like independent filmmaker, whatever. In fact, the commercial, I did a whole video on this when the Gillette thing came out. It's not,
again, all of the things that Rollo was saying they're not untrue. But you just sound butthurt. You just sound like, well, I didn't like it. You're not making any type of argument as to why it was bad for society, why it was bad for men, why it was bad for Gillette. You're saying like, oh, it was, I did a whole thing. This is not effective communication, guys.
just mad because it's an anti-rape. No, you don't get away.
Why not? Why doesn't he get away with it? Because you have not given a better explanation. This is your second time addressing this. This is your second time addressing the exact same thing. And you say, you can't get away with me. Well, he can and he will because you failed to correct him, to clarify, to actually give an argument.
With those little sound bites, my friend. That's not what it was about. Myron's right. It was about shaming guys, but it was about getting women to buy those razors for the guys that they're going and doing the shopping for in the first place.
And there's the point. That is the point that he was trying to make this whole time. We started, where did we start? With where was it? We started at 54. So it took him over 10 minutes. He had 3 different sources of numbers. This is like talking to Anirudh. It's like, okay, what are you saying? Numbers, science, economy.
That's the logic stream that's the downflow here. And in the meantime, we got guys looking like they're dumbasses in front of a freaking they're grilling hot dogs or something like that. Or you got the guy who's saying, oh no, you shouldn't go out and do better. Basically, is what it comes down to. It's not an anti-rape thing. Although we can go and classify it as that. And by the way, I believe Gillette lost like somewhere in the range of like $8 billion as a result of this. You got to remember, Gillette.
They lost $8 billion. I know they lost a shit ton of money, but did they really lose $8 billion? I gotta look that up. There's no way they lost that much money. How much money did Gillette lose from ad? Well, shit. From the Washington Examiner. It says what it says. So it says Gillette CEO losing customers over the Me Too campaign is a price worth paying from August 2019. The Washington Examiner has updated the story to remove the suggestion that Gillette has lost $8 billion to its Me Too inspired advertising campaign. We regret that I don't know, because like they said it, but now they're saying they're not saying it. It's kind of getting fishy. CEO Gillette said he does not regret his company's controversial marketing campaign inspired the Me Too movement, despite losing some loyal customers over. Gary Coombe called the loss of the revenue from those customers a price worth paying. In a Monday interview, Procter & Gamble, a parent company of Gillette, announced Tuesday they had taken over $5 billion in losses for the quarter after Gillette had an $8 billion non-cash write-down after its market share for razors fell after the last year. So I'm trying to see. Gillette was acquired in 2005 for $57 billion by devaluing it by $8 billion. The parent company blamed currency fluctuations. Investment contribute to the $8 million figure. So it's a little unclear. But I did not expect it to be that much money. So I guess it really does. It matters that much. $8 billion is a lot of money. Even if that's not exactly the number, even if it was $5 million. I was going to say 5 billion, but even if it was 5 million, that's still a lot of money. Go woke, go broke. So maybe he's not out yet. Let's give him points where they're due.
Used to have, or I don't know if they still do, but they used to have the F1 racing girls, like the Formula One car racing girls in tight ass, Spanx, whatever it is, right? I mean, that's what Gillette was known for, as a male brand.
Boy shorts, homie.
But now, in a gynocentric social order, we changed the narrative. Do better, Ben. It would be better if you would cry a little bit more. And everything, by the way, everything in that commercial, if it wasn't directly an affront to masculinity, then it was ridiculing masculinity. And what I mean by that is, like, there's the guys who's the doofy guy, or then it's like this appeal to, like, get in touch with your emotional side. It's okay to let boys cry, that kind of shit right there. It wasn't just about one thing. That's the whole problem. So dismiss it as just, it was just an anti-rape commercial. Go watch it if you'd like.
And Fresh used to work for a tech.
Somebody I don't know.
No, yeah, female employees.
Yep.
And they control the flow.
And Fresh used to work for a tech company, guys. This comes from experience.
They control the flow of how things are put out. Now, like you guys said, women control the customer base for most things. So get this, right? A lot of our content is not geared towards women. So what they do? Suppress it and oftentimes delete it.
Mhm.
Because it's not going to be suitable for their consumers, which is women.
Yep.
So yeah, that's very true.
Big facts. Sorry, Rollo, go ahead.
Here's another
Prediction?
prognostication for the future.
Mhm.
We live in the most emotionalized
Oh my
society
God.
the world has ever known right
Facts.
now. Everything is feels before reals. We say this all the time in the Manosphere, and we joke about it, but it's really true. We live in an age, and I make the case for it in the book 4. Our religion is emotionalism right now. It's how did it make you
Like, as opposed to what? When the rationality of man ruled?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Even though Destiny wouldn't agree with me that government and the establishment has become the new religion. Yeah, let's let, I'm going to back it up. Let's let Destiny say it. He's saying it better than I can.
now? It's how did it make you
Like, as opposed to what? When the rationality of man ruled? Every man is like a perfectly rational being, or like
No, you're relying on binaries.
men allowed like fact and logic to dictate. Like, come on, dude. Do people really think we're that different? Like, it's
Yes, I do. I'm going to show you exactly why I mean this. Okay, here we go.
And again, dude. Oh no! Come on, man. Well, let's read this. But a tweet also is not scientific evidence, but it does look to be an actual article. So let's see. It says so the tweet itself says men scored higher than women on emotional stability across countries, even more so in highly individualistic societies. So the actual clip from the study says we used rigorous methodological and analytical techniques to shed light on the true nature of gender differences in personality using a large sample. I would like a number there. A large sample of personality scores from over 100 countries. So like 101 or like 103, 120. Goes on to say agreeableness and emotional stability showed small to medium differences between men and women, whereas differences between men and women were still very small for conscientiousness and extroversion and negligible for openness. Men exhibit moderately more emotional stability. Like, yeah, no shit. This is basic level. Like, obviously, men tend to be a bit more logical and rational, and women tend to be a bit more emotional in their thinking. That's all this says. I don't disagree at all. But what point, Rollo? What point do you think you are making with this? What point are you making with this? Back it up, make sure we don't miss anything.
think we're that different. Men allowed like fact and logic. Like, come on, dude. Do people really think we're that different? Like, it's
Yes, I do. I'm going to show you exactly why I mean this. Okay, here we go. Sources cited once again.
So the implication is that when Destiny says, "Do we think we're that different?" When he says that different, that's acknowledging that there is a difference, as evidenced by the study. That I'm sure he's familiar with this information, whether or not he knows this study or not. But acting like it was a completely different type of society where there was never it was purely based on rationality and logic, and there was no such thing as religion. And I mean, this is human nature, and this is what I mean by getting lost in the sauce. Like, yeah, women are more emotional than men. But that doesn't mean like that you can slap that onto any aspect of the world and be like, well, nope, women can't do this and men can do everything. That's silly. It's so simplistic and boiled down. It's like, well, women are more emotional, so therefore everything.
And men scored higher than women on emotional stability across countries, even more so in highly individualistic societies. I mean, I got dozens of these, man. I can do this all day. We used rigorous methods.
See, again, he thinks he's making a point by presenting information. You have to connect the information to the claim that you are making. Otherwise, it is just information, and you are just saying things. Trey said, I wonder if his wife watches the channel. Probably. I think, he's definitely a red pill dude. He's definitely, he understands frame and like all of that stuff he's got down. But I'm looking at his communication because that is what we need. Again, we all know. Does anybody not know that women tend to be more emotional than men? That's not new information. The question is, what do you want to do with that information? The question is, how is that information affecting our society? Things like that. We got No Freedoms in the building, and he's got a spicy one. Says women in America should not be able to vote. Type of 1 if you disagree with No Freedoms. Type of 1 if you disagree.
Methodological and analytical techniques to shed light on the true nature of gender differences in personality using a large sample personality score test from over 100 countries. Agreeableness and emotional stability showed small to medium differences between men and women, whereas differences between men and women were small for conscientiousness, extroversion, and negligible for openness. Men exhibit moderately more emotional stability than women do across countries.
Wow, nobody thinks women should vote. But getting back to the point, like he's like, I got this. I've got these all day. But this doesn't answer the question that was asked. Or it wasn't even a question. He said, this is silly. Destiny said, this is silly. He said, I'll tell you why it's not silly. Because this study is there. What? It is your job, Rollo, to connect the dots. Even if you understand where you're going with this. Even if you have an amazing point that because of this difference in men and women, XYZ, it does not matter if you cannot communicate. Well, what is his actual point to the red pill? Because just from being married, he would understand that there is more to these stats. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even I don't remember too much, but from watching him back in the day, I don't watch Fresh and Fit anymore, but watching him back in the day on Fresh and Fit, and he used to be all over Rich Cooper's channel. Haven't seen him there in a while, and maybe this is why, I don't know. But I don't think the issue is him being red pilled or not. That certainly isn't the issue. The issue, again, is him being able to articulate the points that we want to teach people, which is surprising since he's written 4 books on this. And I only read I did the audiobook for 1. But again, it was a good book. Everybody should read The Rational Male. It's a good book. But this does not put Rollo in a good light.
The meta-regression revealed that only one culture variable was related to one of the personality dimensions. That is, mean differences between men and women in emotional stability were larger in countries that scored higher in individualism, consistent with past research. The interactionist perspective could help explain why these results continue to emerge.
Like, you're not making a point.
In high sex differences in RIC.
And he goes to another one. Oh my God, I'll read it. So he says, from the same guy, super red flag, super big red flag. If you're listening to somebody who's sourcing anything and all of their sources come from the exact same place, they're just a middleman. Let's go talk to Rolf. If all you're going to present me is what Rolf said, then why the fuck am I talking to you? No Freedom said, until I start seeing women marching to be forced to sign the draft, I don't want to hear their opinions on foreign affairs. Fair enough. I cannot disagree with that.
Scoring substantially higher.
Oh yeah, I said I was going to read this because he's boring. Let me get rid of this and do this. And so Rolf says, sex differences in emotionality, with women scoring substantially higher, were larger in wealthy and gender egalitarian countries, replicating a well-known pattern. Okay. So the actual thing says studies on sex differences in personality traits have been extended to multinational investigations. One counterintuitive but robust finding from these studies is that such differences are generally larger in more economically developed and gender egalitarian countries. In the present research, we revisit the issue using a measure of hexaco personality dimensions in a larger women average substantially higher than men in emotion. This is saying the same thing. Sexual differences in emotional were found to be larger and wealthy. Blah, blah, blah. For emotional women, and it's just saying what they that says the same thing. So the conclusion, the grand conclusion from an hour and 12 minutes of him being online is that he let you guys in on the secret that women tend to be a bit more emotional than men. Wow. I'm glad that you let me know, bud. I'm glad that you let me know. All right, let's get to
one counterintuitive. Have a more fact. All of them come to that.
Our TikTok getting banned is
True.
This is why I wanted to find the just the Destiny version so that we could just watch but I couldn't find it. So we'll do what we do.
Feel.
Yep.
Our
TikTok getting banned is an example of that.
Feeling. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Women for bad behavior. Feelings.
So when I get criticized by women, it's usually for my tone. Yeah. Right. Well, if you would just say it with sweet little sappy, sugarcoat what you're saying, then women will respond to it. No, it's not how I'm saying something. It's the data that I'm imparting to you.
Yep.
That I agree with. That is why Kevin Samuels was so popular, because you can't put it nicer. Because they're linguistically, they're better at twisting things in their minds and making words mean whatever they want it to mean. So if you dance around the point, women are very good at just letting that shit miss them. That's how they roll. So I definitely agree with the point that you absolutely have to be, at least with some women, you have to be, I would say just people in general. There's some people that you absolutely need to be more direct and straightforward with them. They're just not going to pick it up otherwise. If they're not, if it doesn't hit them in the face like a ton of bricks, they're just not going to get it. Alex, we got to dip out. Thank you so much for hanging out. Unless you just flex and then flex on, homie, flex on.
That is offending you because it goes against the what is an ego invested belief for that woman. It feels bad, and I get it. It's supposed to feel bad because if it's not feeling bad, then it's not gonna motivate you to change.
Yes.
So in the future, and I don't know when we're gonna reach critical mass, but right now
Even that doesn't make sense. There's no self-help or self-improvement course that's taken seriously that produces results for people that works, that starts with making you feel bad. That's and you'd think there'd be a lot of
That starts with making you feel bad. I mean, arguably fat shaming. I don't know if I agree with Destiny there. I think there's a lot of value in feeling bad about yourself for things that you should feel bad about. If you're a lazy piece of shit, then it's good overall for you to, in the moment, feel bad about that laziness. If you don't care about that laziness, then you will continue being lazy. And I mean, to each their own. I personally don't give a shit if you want to be lazy, but it's better for you if you're not. That's a very poignant thing in the red pill, that the red pill messaging that seems to get lost because it's so much so focused around females. But discomfort is a very important thing for growth. Let's see what Rollo says.
crossover between red.
yes, there is. It's called the
I'm going to back that up a little. So yeah, he was saying no self-help starts with making you feel bad.
U.S. military. Yes, it's called basic training. It's called boot camp. It's called tough love. It's called kick you in your ass. And it doesn't feel good and you eat shit, but you learn from it and you grow from it. In fact, the principle, probably not Destiny, but if anybody takes a martial art, you get better at it by feeling.
That's a brilliant point. I think the question that Destiny was asking was not in the spirit, that wouldn't fall in the spirit. I think he's talking because if you're taking a martial art, they're not going to treat you like shit. You're just going to feel like shit by virtue of not being good at the martial art. I mean, or any sport, really. So I don't know if that really fits the tone of what Destiny was saying, but I still think Destiny's wrong on that one.
Bad by getting your ass kicked. Now you got to get up, take it on the chin, dust yourself off, and go back at it again until you get it right. Okay. Some people feel like shit. When I was first started learning guitar, I felt really bad because I was like, I sucked at it. Now I'm pretty damn good. And it makes me feel pretty good about it. There are lots of stuff. What is self-help? What aspect of yourself would you like to help? Right? What if, you can say, well, shaming doesn't work. No, shaming works very, very well. That's why we default to it. What self-help does? It begins with, feeling bad. Well, it's not that I'm intentionally trying to make people feel bad. That's just simply the result of being confronted with data that conflicts with your, it's fundamentally counterintuitive to your belief set.
So I told you, Rollo's got cred. He knows what's good here. The problem is letting us know that he knows.
Yeah. It feels bad before it feels good. You got to take it on the chin. You're going to suck before you're going to rule, man. You're going to suck before you master something. And it feels bad to suck, man. It feels bad to get rejected. It feels bad to get defeated. It feels bad to go, you know what? The reality is actually this. Oh, damn. You want to know why guys go through a red pill rage phase? It's because it doesn't taste good. That's why Michaela lost her shit on me, right? Oh, I felt really bad after that conversation. I certainly hope you did. Again, like
I don't know who Michaela is.
Like I was saying, it's the only way people learn. Oh, well, if we just hold their hand, you want to know what the main problem, you want to know why we have the participation trophy generation right now? Like Destiny doesn't understand. Shouldn't we all be winners? No, we shouldn't. Men are competitive. You live in a competitive environment. The world has a competitive bias, my friend. Reality has a sexist bias. Reality has a competitive bias. Reality is live or die. Okay? I know we live in modern times, and shouldn't we have evolved past that? Yeah, we should have, but here we are. That's not where we're at. And it's not where we're going to be at, because that's not how the machine works, and that's not how the animal is. So yeah, it sucks. You got to eat a lot of shit before you can give a lot of shit.
Pill and self-help, but I don't know if there is, because it's not real
Fair enough.
self-help. It's usually bullshit self-help, because most of those communities aren't like people that are massively improving their lives, because generally the things they're told is to like fucking sell crypto and get shredded. But like,
I mean, that's not bad advice. Buy crypto, get shredded. Not bad advice. Is that the end all be all of the red pill? Of course not. Of course not. That's just like we were talking about on another stream. That's the flashy stuff. That's the stuff that if you're not part of the community that you see, because that's the stuff that gets people to come into the community, to see the deeper aspects of it, to see the parts of it that are about self-improvement and self-help. I'm really torn here. And this is precisely, if I may pat myself on the back, this is how you should deal with new information, especially when you have two people whom you look up to some extent, two people who at least that you can trust their word, that they know what they're talking about, and they don't agree. You are in a great position when that happens. That's why we use a lot of debates, because they show us the aspects of the people that we're talking about in a light that they can't so easily control on their own channels and editing the video and da-da-da-da-da. So if you're just here for me to dunk on the blue pill guy and cheer for the red pill guy, you may have chosen the wrong channel. But when Destiny's wrong, baby.
Yeah, well, get shredded, get your fat ass in the gym, do the work, put your nose to the grindstone. That doesn't feel good, especially if you're overweight. Get your fat
or puny. See, this is what I always talk about. It's so hard for me to get onto that mindset, because all working out comes from the framework of you're fat. I'm not fat.
Ass in the gym. Lose weight, get to a normal weight. Women will want you more if you look better. Simple facts. Reality.
Oh,
again,
we got a puppy stream.
Here,
Hi, I'm Morty. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that sucks. You got sweat. Sweat is weakness leaving the body, right? I'm trying to turn you into a gym bro, but I mean, it sucks. It hurts, especially when you're first starting. It's like, oh God, the psychological aspects, but there's also the physical aspects of it too. But you know who I have more respect for than I do Destiny? Big Mo, man. Big Mo, because he's doing it. That's why I will always.
Does somebody know who Big Mo is?
Always have respect for people who are actually out there. Like you see some fat chick that's jogging on the street and something. Don't laugh. Don't laugh at that girl. She's out there and you're not. She's at least realizes, she's made the connection. Hey, I need to lose weight. How rare is that insight today? Ask Aaron Clary. He'll be happy to tell you. You see guys in the gym, you see fat girls in the gym, fat guys in the gym. Like, you know what? I got more respect for them than I got for the guys who are like in the drive-thru at freaking Starbucks, Taco Bell, McDonald's, wherever you go. I have way more respect for those people. Because, yeah, it sucks. It hurts. You know, it's in the beginning, and then you learn to love it, right? Then you get back at it. But that's not what the red pill's all about. By the way, Destiny, the red pill's not about. It should, at least in my humble opinion.
Right, Rollo. You are correct in your humble opinion. But again, we come back to the notion of communication. And you cannot be a bad communicator of your ideas and then be mad when somebody does not understand your ideas.
It's my opinion. The red pill is not about self-help. There's prescriptions. There's a lot of people who have prescriptions. There's a lot of people who want to take the red pill and turn it into 12 rules for life. As I was saying earlier.
That was a shot straight at JVP, but all right. Let's move back towards the actual shit.
Margaritas on the beach, man.
He can be a little chatty. Make your point and move on.
We're in the age of emotionalism. We're in the age of ego and the age of emotionalism. And so we base our policies, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whatever it is, based on our emotional response to things. We have at least the last 3 generations of men who've been conditioned in blue pill conditioning, have been trained to emote like women, to see emotional. They've been trained and taught that women, the way that women process emotion is the correct way to process emotion. Right. So when we say, oh, that man he's toxically masculine, he's not in touch with his feelings, right? He needs to express himself emotionally. He needs to get in touch with his feminine side. All that stuff we've been talking about since the 70s. The reason why that's still a thing right now is because it's a great means of control over those guys so that they will identify and align with the feminine, which is all based on emotion. So when we talk about like the emotional children that are out rioting in the streets right now and they're tearing down statues and don't they know that statue is this? And they're not thinking rationally. They're not thinking with reason.
Where is that Rollo? Where is that Rollo? He's communicating very well when he's on a live podcast, but sitting in his own studio, a pre-recorded and edited video doesn't have the iota of the level of information and ability to communicate that he showed on the video that he's reacting to. Something's up here, guys. Something is up here.
Thinking emotionally, because those last 3-4 generations have been taught to emote like women, to be like women. Woman is correct. Transgenderism, right? Why is it that more boys want to be girls than girls want to be boys? Because it's more advantageous socially to be a girl in a gynocentric social order than it is to be a man, because nobody wants to be a dad. Dads are assholes. Boys are toxically masculine. We got to give him Ritalin. We got to give him Adderall. We got to give him sedate that boy with drugs, with opiates, with alcohol, with pornography. Sedate him. Don't let him do anything, because if you let him do anything, he might turn toxic. He might turn violent. And it's all because we want to put men we want to force fit them into this emotional correctness. Whatever's female is correct. Yep. And so if you are brought up that way, you're going to vote that way. You're going to look for jobs that way. You're going to relate with people that way. Guys, the number one thing, guys, I'm sure you've already got this.
So I just want to, I want to give anyone the benefit of the doubt. I always want to give the benefit of the doubt. So we've been talking about how it took so long for Rollo to make a point. I'm going to give Rollo the benefit of the doubt that because he already knew what was in the Fresh and Fit podcast that he was in, that there was a little bit more of assumption of what his point was than there should have been. That doesn't excuse it. That doesn't make it any better, but at least makes a little more sense to me personally. I don't know. You guys are quiet tonight, so I don't know what the hell you guys are thinking, but that's what I think.
Guys will come to me for counseling or coaching or whatever the hell it is, right? And they'll say, Rollo, I don't know how to interrelate with guys. I don't know how to talk to guys. I don't know. There's guys I want to hang out. I was talking about tribalism, right?
It's very important for men.
We have our.
Damn, if we're not going to talk, can we at least hit the like button, maybe? I would really appreciate that, guys.
We'll try. This is a tribe, right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have tribes? And they don't. And the reason they don't is because they've been taught to emote and to relate to men as if they are women.
Yeah.
And that's what's valuable, and that's what makes them valuable. That's how they get their self-worth. So it's no shock to me when guys in the black pill community or blue pill or purple pill or whatever it is, they don't they don't want to make women the measurement of their lives, but they still emote and they still relate
Again, saying the same
with
shit.
people as like into positions of power, and you get one.
Nice if like
So merit.
it's got to be like it's so attractive, and I understand. Like I get the draw of it. Like it's super nice if like my one pet issue just happens to be the thing that can describe all the ills of humanity. But I mean, like at some point, do you not feel like a little bit like, maybe I'm trying really hard to shoehorn in an explanation for every single social ill with like my particular pet?
I am super excited to see what Rollo says about this, because this is precisely the other side of saying that the red pill should be a pit stop. Now, I think there are many more aspects to the red pill thinking, red pill ideology, whatever you want to call it, that I would agree with that Destiny wouldn't. But thinking that you can force everything through the lens of the red pill, especially in dating, it just doesn't work. And I think Destiny is on point. I think Destiny is extremely correct when it comes to Rollo and how he thinks. And because he knows about all of this red pill stuff, he wants to slap it on everything. Just like a leftist wants to slap oh, this is racism, and that's racism, and that's racism, and that's racism. It's like, well, some things are racist, but not everything is racist. You can't just you can't play that card every round. Let's see that again.
Gotta be like it's so attractive, and I understand. Like I get the draw.
Actually, I want to back just see what he said right before
Oh.
that.
Positions of power. Talking about social, when we still emote and they still relate with people
Same
as
bullshit.
if they have a feminine sort of training. So when we look at things like communitarianism, we look at socialism, we look at like why are we even talking about socialism in the United States right now? It's because we put so many women into positions of power that seems like a good idea. It makes them feel good. Hey, you get one and you.
So we're thinking Rollo's point is that we're thinking about socialism because there's enough females or feminine ideology in society at large. I don't know. That sounds a little bit, especially knowing what Destiny's about to say about like, it doesn't seem a little convenient that your worldview works with everything. It's not wrong, but I don't know that feminine energy is the cause of the pussification of the West. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And if you take just take Marxism, there's a lot in there that has nothing to do with females or the feminine. It has a lot to do with power and economics. That's made people act differently. So again, we got to be fair to both sides.
You get one and you get one and you get
Jesus.
one and so merit.
It's got to be like it's so attractive, and I understand. Like I get the draw of it. Like it's super nice if like my one pet issue just happens to be the thing that can describe all the ills of humanity. But I mean, like at some point, do you not feel like a little bit like, maybe I'm trying really hard to shoehorn in an explanation for every single social ill with like my particular pet project? Like
he's absolutely correct. He is absolutely correct. And if you're not liking what he's saying, maybe you are also a little bit too lost in the red pill sauce. Maybe take a break from stuff like that. It's not going to change. It's a pit stop. It's not a home.
my particular thing that I care about, doesn't it feel like at some point like, okay, maybe I'm stretching a little bit? Why have video games gotten so much worse? Well, mechanics of the QuickTime events have gotten more popular because women have less reaction time, and so QTEs are it just feels like,
yeah.
That is a logical fallacy, my friend. And let's see, which logical fallacy?
Oh, we got logical fallacies. It's a logical fallacy. He said that's like he said that his worldview it's convenient for his worldview to cover everything. And then I guess that would be a straw man. Because Rollo never said anything about video games and QuickTime. So again, little bit of a red flag for somebody who is a professional speaker to be doing this.
Policy is that? Well, I mean, it's a non sequitur.
I mean, did I bring up an infographic like this when we did my 4 or 5 hour stream on logical fallacies? Or did we talk about it? And did we show examples? Show. Don't tell. Because then You're just saying things. But I mean, he does have he does have it here. So that if you're not familiar with the logical fallacies, if you missed that stream, definitely go back and watch it. It is perfect for situations like this. But I can't read these. But the slippery slope is acting like when acting like one thing will lead to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. When it's not true. When it's not true. So, for example, saying like, if I don't get home on time today, then I'm going to be late every day, and then it's going to mess up my clock and then my internal clock, and then I'm going to be late for work. Like, that's a slippery slope. You're pushing down the dominoes that aren't really there. Black or white. To philosophers, that's known as a false dichotomy. Begging the question is when your answer presents another question, and these aren't like, again, this is not a good look for Rollo, because I could tell you right off just replaying the situation in my head. Okay, he said this, and then he said that. Oh, that's clearly a straw man. You gotta pay attention to this stuff, guys.
Of course. You could call it, well, not ambiguity. Let's see, anecdotal. A slippery slope would be a good one, I suppose.
That is not a slippery slope. What event did he say would cause a cascading of catastrophic events? Wrong.
You could call that a slippery slope.
No, you could.
It's like an appeal to like binary extremes, right?
Or a false dichotomy. But that's not what it was either. If anything, Rollo is the one who is creating a false sense of how many options there are for the situations he's talking about. So false dichotomy again goes back to saying, well, did you kill the butler or did you just choke the butler? It's like, well, that's a false dichotomy because I could also not have done either of those things. How this applies to what Destiny is saying is, I don't understand.
Like, as if I'm going to say that the reason why video games suck or this is bad or like they didn't get good service at the fucking restaurant is because like I got to shoehorn it into my beliefs about women or whatever. No,
that would be a straw man.
What I'm saying.
Okay. Wait, he said, listen to what I'm saying. So I'm going to give him the full screen, even though he's only a little corner, got captions on. He said, listen to what I'm saying.
Default to begging the question. Maybe that was it.
Oh, he's still looking around. No, it's not begging.
Circular argument in which the conclusion is included in the premise.
No.
Okay. And then the other one, my favorite, of course, is avoiding having to engage criticism by turning it back on the accuser, answering criticism with criticism, which of course
no. That would be a whataboutism. Instead of taking the criticism and saying and engaging with it, you say, well, what about da 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 da? Rollo, you have fallen off, my friend.
The most popular tactic that women use when it comes to issues and arguments that they have no counter argument for. And here we have a guy who has a very feminized mindset, at least from what I'm able to sort of glean from these videos he's done with Myron Fresh and Sneeko. When I look at this, I go, well, that's most definitely that's the tactic, right? So that's not what I'm saying.
But it's not, because you just create again the fallacy that you were looking for was a straw man. He is attempting to erect a straw man and argue against that instead of what you have said. But since you don't know that, now we're just off the rails.
But what I am saying is that women and men organize societies differently. When we put women into positions of power, they organize and exercise that power much differently than men do. Women tend to be more communitarian in their approach. Men tend to be more hierarchical in their approach.
Men tend to be more hierarchical. So, yeah, we all flub our words and stutter and whatever. But it just stands out a little bit more when it doesn't change how much you're actually conveying when you don't even say the word.
Try to make this up. Put it in like monosyllabic words so people can understand this, okay?
Oh, the arrogance, the projection, and the arrogance. Why is it always that the dumbest people think that they're the smartest? The people who have the least information have the highest level of confidence. Dunning-Kruger effect, in effect, right before your very eyes.
In our hunter-gatherer ancestral past,
That's 2 syllables. He said, I'm going to put it in monosyllabic. Then he said, in our hunter-gatherer ancestral. That's not what that means. Now I know I'm nitpicking, but if you're gonna come with that level of arrogance, then expect me to, Jerry said he really just repeats the same point in different analogies. That is precisely why we are skipping through a lot of this. But you're right. But again, I want to highlight that does not mean that you shouldn't read his book. What it means is that just because somebody wrote a great book, just because somebody gave a great lecture, just because somebody has a great YouTube channel, does not mean that you just swallow what they say whole without any, yeah, you should agree with some things anyone says and disagree with something of virtually everyone. It's very rare for you to align perfectly on everything with anyone. And for you to expect that would be the case is kind of cultish. That's what cults are for, where everybody has exactly the same thoughts, and Rollo is making the red pill community look like a cult when he talks like this. Do you feel like you're a cult because you pay attention to red pill content? If not, you should be just as annoyed as I am.
women were the berry pickers. They were the gatherers. They were the givers of life. They were the incubators of the next generation. They were the vulnerable sex. For 9 months, they had to gestate and bring a child to term. And usually, in our ancestral past, women's lives were consumed by one or more of those children, either in hand or in belly. Most of the time, they needed protection. They needed protection from the elements. They needed protection from warring tribes. They needed protection from wild animals. They needed food, provisioning, everything, the 3 Ps of the beta buck side of hypergamy: protection, provisioning, and parental investment. They damn well needed all of that. And so, as a result, women tend to be the more communicative. They tend to rely on one another because there's strength in numbers. And there's this natural affinity. I can get into the war brides aspect of this too, if you'd like. But long story short, women tend to be more
He's talking to himself. You can't say if you like to no one.
No, they tend to be more communitarian. As you know, you've probably heard from, I don't know, God knows, Hillary Clinton and whoever else say this, but in the past, it takes a village to raise a child. Community. Oh, will you babysit my kid while I'm doing this today? I got to go out and pick berries. Jenny, will you watch my kid? There's that communitarianism that is much more an egality. You want to know where egalitarian comes from? It comes from that community, that sense of that.
So Chad says they definitely teach it like a religious cult. That is a problem. That is a problem. For those of us who are, my face is on the entire internet for this stuff. But even if you are watching like I don't call this a red pill channel, but if you go to any random red pill channel and you're, just in the chat, your name is there. You leave a comment, your name is there. You are now associated with what is being taught as a religious cult. Are you comfortable with that? And even if you haven't heard of Rollo, everybody that you listen to in the red pill space looks up to him like no other. I mean, as far as I understand, with these red pill content creators, it was Kevin Samuels, and then Rollo, and then everybody else, or maybe Kevin, and then Rollo or O'Shea Duke Jackson, and then everybody else. But other than that, like, this guy is supposed to be the top. And Kevin Samuels was not a red pill channel in the sense that he was talking to men. I mean, we all know he started out that way. But by the end, he was more helping women. So It's no wonder. It's no wonder they show up to Kevin's show and have this idea of men and what men think, especially as this stuff is getting more popular. This is why. Even though there is so much truth in the red pill and what they say, the problem is if it's taught like a religious cult, that's no bueno. Hey, we got Project Gnarly in the building. Welcome. Says salutations right back to you. Welcome to the party. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Welcome to the party. Very glad to see you. We got Revolvement in the building. What's going on, brother? Then we got from Trey. He says, I love my man Bullets. Yeah, he's a great guy. But when he was up on stream talking to you, it definitely sounded like he was in a cult. And that's precisely why I don't call myself a MGTOW. I don't call this channel Red Pill. I don't, and none of that stuff. I don't want to be associated with groups and ideologies. I'm the Indian Jesus. That's me. What I believe is what I believe. You could label it close to this, that, the other. But if you want to try and pin me down by using a label, you're just going to be wrong. As never have to apologize. Vomit, get that family time, family before everything. I appreciate you showing up at all. Love you, brother. But yeah, that Trey's exactly right. And that doesn't mean that I even disagree with a lot of what Bullets has to say. I agree with a lot of it. But I don't live my life like that. I don't base my life around that. I think it may have been one of you guys, maybe Revolvement. I don't know. One of you guys commented something, and I was saying exactly that. Why I don't consider myself MGTOW. I don't consider this a red pill channel. It's I'm much more closely aligned, or I relate much more to my political affiliations than anything to do with the red pill. Excuse me. So if I'm just asking for a quick recap, this is the only video we were on. This is from Rollo Tomassi's channel, The Rational Male, and this guy is revered as like the top guy in the red pill. His book is often referred to as the Red Pill Bible. And Destiny, he was Destiny, the streamer Destiny, was reviewing or reacting to this guy Rollo going onto an early episode of the Fresh and Fit podcast where he was talking about red pill this, red pill that. And then Rollo's reacting, but it's just very weird the way he's doing it. And what I'm trying to show is how important it is not just to know things and to be able to cite numbers, because he threw a whole bunch of numbers at us before, but to be able to communicate your message. What is your bottom line? That's what at any point in a discussion, somebody should be able to say, okay, stop, you're losing me. What's the elevator pitch? 10 to 15 words. Here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Boom. Believe nothing except that anything is possible. Boom. That's what you need to know, is what the fuck you are about. Like that. If you need a 2.5 hour stream to explain your basic perspective, then it's too complicated. Trey says the funny thing is that the black red pill try to preach super accountability, and it comes so and seems so. Look at me, I'm better than you. I don't. It comes to look at me, I'm better than you. Yeah, I mean, I do see some of that, but I see a lot. I see a much bigger problem with this. I see a much bigger problem with this. Being able to communicate effectively, keyword effectively, is the most important thing for any message. People need to be able to understand. No Freedom says, yeah, men protected too much. Maybe. And I mean, I guess people agree with you. Nobody wanted women to vote, so who knows?
Interreliance, interdependency of women, by women, on women, for women. Men, on the other hand, tend to be more competitive, and we tend to be more hierarchical, simply because that's simply how our sexual nature breaks down. We want to know who's the best, who's the chief, who's the sub-chief, who's the sub-sub-chief, who's the general, who's the lieutenant, who's the sergeant, who's the corporal, who's the private, all down the chain of command. Same thing in our workspace, same thing in our politics, same thing in our religions. It's all hierarchical. Who's at the top and who's at the bottom?
Bro, how are you talking about evolutionary psychology? You've written 4 books and you don't know the word is hierarchical, not hierarchical. I know I'm nitpicking, but I respect both these gentlemen. It's just a matter of how far are you willing to go down the rabbit hole? How deep are you willing to look? And yikes. It's sobering. It's really sobering because it's important to know the limitations of the people that you follow, including me. Especially me. I don't want you thinking I'm like some cult leader. I'm just a dude. And so is Rollo. So is Kevin Samuels. It doesn't mean that these ideas are not mutually exclusive from thinking, oh, Kevin Samuels had an amazing show. He just had it down. He did it right. You can think that and also think that he was just a normal guy who put the work in. It's when you think of it in these cult-like ways that you get yourself into trouble. And you're not going to realize when they're telling you something that's relevant to their life and comes from their life experience, but doesn't apply to you or is somehow different for you. But you're hammering at it. Listen, well, Rollo said do this. Rollo said do this. Rollo said do this. And you're bashing your head into a wall, basically. Freedom says, I was in a cult before. I was in a nerd cult. I mean, how did that go? That sounds kind of boring, I think. But hey, if you had fun. I don't know, guys. It's there's so few people that I feel comfortable listening to and putting my trust and my faith in. Luckily, you don't really have to trust or put faith in anybody to any degree. When you get an inkling of something's amiss, something's a little squirrely, something's a little off, because this is not a cult, because this is not a religion, you could just say, I'm done with this motherfucker.
People doing the work. Who are the plebes?
Let's see.
Who are the serfs?
I'm done with this.
Who are the knights? Who are the nobility? It's a failed with and what they're at. It was in the news about a year ago. It's the research, okay? When women are given a set of resources, money, whatever it is, to distribute, and men are given nutshell. Men organize societies in hierarchies, women organize societies in communities. That's why socialism seems like a good idea to women. That's how you get the participation trophy generation. Everyone's a winner. No one should feel bad. right? Wasn't he just complaining about that? Well, the red pill, I don't think of any self-help program that starts with making people feel bad. I do. It's called sports. It's called high school sports. Yeah, you get better or you don't. You'll feel bad when you lose. Somebody's got to lose unless
You already made this point,
In
dude.
girl world, everyone gets a trophy. And men attribute more positive.
You can't make this up. It's from the same guy. It's from the same guy. Regardless of what this says, how much do you trust Rollo if we are an hour and a half into his stream and all he's shown you was 2 infographics and 3 tweets from the same guy? Talk about a nerd cult. Nerd! Let's see what it says, because I'm sure it's so much different. I'm going to take a wild guess here. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it has something to do with how men operate differently from women. Just going out on a limb. Let's see. The tweet itself says men attribute more positive outcomes to competition than women. The text itself says women are less competitive than men in most contexts studied. Rapidly accumulating, right? Jay's like, I forget what he's actually replying to. Yeah, he's just talking. He's just talking. We haven't. I'm pretty sure we haven't. He hasn't said any. Destiny hasn't said anything since the straw man. So the last thing Destiny said was that, like, oh, well, so you're saying your worldview just fixes everything? And it's like, well, men do better in video games because the reaction time and like, and he's still just going on and 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 on. And remember, he was done. He went back to Destiny, and Destiny was like, it's just silly, just a throwaway comment. No, it's not silly. And he came back with all of this. So let's see how this tells us that it is, in fact, not silly. So women are less competitive than men in most contexts studied. Rapidly accumulating evidence suggests that competitiveness may pattern career-related choices and behaviors in ways to in ways that maintain and exacerbate the gender gap in economic and political outcomes. To examine whether this gender difference is linked to differential beliefs about competition, we developed a scale measuring lay beliefs about competition. A mini meta-analysis of 2,331 studies of responses to this scale shows that men attribute more positive outcomes to competition than women. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? It's something about the difference between men and women. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Whatever.
Regardless of how poorly you are working.
Dominance hierarchies, competence hierarchies, meritocracy, all of that stuff flies out the window because we don't see the value in it. Because
Bring him on. Hey, this guy ever wanted to come on a chat.
Whenever women come into political power, whenever you get an AOC, whenever you get a woman who gets into Congress or the Senate, the first thing they do, their first priority, their number one priority, is not to their constituency. It is to the female purpose. It is to the sisterhood uber alles.
Kamala Harris.
So you got. I was going to say you get women
Sisterhood uber alles. That sounds pretty stupid.
who go in there and the first thing they talk about is we need to legalize abortion. We need to change up divorce laws. We need to change these things. We need all of these things that we think are so horribly unfair, and it all becomes about women's issues and not all of our issues. Like how are we going to govern? It doesn't matter as long as women get theirs. As long as the sisterhood is served. I can go on forever. I don't want to go on forever about that. But
again, where is you don't want to go on forever? Well, you certainly do now. How the mighty have fallen. On the podcast, he's clear, he's concise, he's making a point, he's backing it up, all that. Then he comes to clarify things, and it's like a different person. Almost like he rehearsed what he was going to say on the show. And kind of just played a character. And now when he's actually trying to wax poetic on the topic, he doesn't really have much to say. And remember that he accused Destiny of not having anything to say.
I talk in a great extent about the sisterhood uber alles in this book. That's where I see us going.
That's where you see us going?
We're going to be, our politics are emotionalized. Our media, our entertainment is all emotionalized.
Yes, Terminator with a female
Songs,
actress,
songs,
James Bond.
Everything is feminized and everything is emotionalized primarily right now. And we think that that's going to sell more movies and more.
It's backfiring.
I'll leave you with this.
What's backfiring?
The Star Wars movies. I know John's a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And the last 3 Star Wars movies were.
I think he's looking backwards from his
and the reason for that is because they don't know how to write the heroes.
Boom, boom, boom. Trey on point, 1000%. He says it so much, it's muscle memory. He just knows the things to say. He can spit them out. So when you put him on in front of a camera for 1 hour, you just let him fire his best lines, yeah, sounds pretty good. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. But when you actually sit down with the man and have him explain his ideology, explain where his reasoning is coming from, take a look at the level of research he has or has not done, you can see the lack of thought that actually goes into this. And I'm not saying no thought went into it. Yeah, you see, he had the tweets ready. Well, I mean, this was a specific. He specifically went to respond to this. So that makes sense. But that's even worse. Like, if you know that you're going to be responding to something and you want to use statistics, then bring up the studies. Don't bring up an infographic that has something that's tangentially related to what we're talking about, and then slap that onto the point that you were making in another podcast, and then get mad at Destiny for being like, that doesn't really fit together. Rollo is a bad communicator here. He has the better ideas, but if you show this to a random normie on the street, they're going to think red pill is the same thing as MRA. Rollo. I think it is time for you to hang it up. Hang up your bandana thing, whatever it is that you wear. You've done your part. You've paved the way. But I think, 10, 20 years of being married and just being revered has melted your brain. And that's cool. You earned that. Take all the money that you made from the books and from YouTube. Take your wife and your kids. Go live on an island somewhere. But this is not helping young men. This is turning men away from the red pill. And that's just not what we want. We want people to be able to understand the truths and realities about the world we live in without getting offended, and understand them clearly enough to not think the people who are telling the truth are cult leaders.
Journey it's a male specific thing, right? Yeah. Men must become.
Yes.
We have a burden.
No, hold on. That is so wrong. The hero's journey doesn't have anything intrinsically to do with a man. You can write that story for a woman. That is absolute.
Yes, except for every time we do write it for women, it sucks.
I gotta back this up. I'm not really sure what the argument is.
It's a male specific.
He's looking backwards.
Movies I know John's a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And the last 3 Star Wars movies.
That's why we need the captions.
I think he's looking backwards from his
and the reason for that is because they don't know how to write the hero's journey. It's a male specific thing, right?
Yeah.
Men must become.
Yes.
We have a burden.
No, hold on. That is so wrong. The hero's journey doesn't have anything intrinsically to do with a man. You can write that story for a woman. That is absolute.
Yes.
You absolutely can write that for a woman. It definitely seems to suck every time they try to do it. But those are two different points. Whether it can be done and whether it has been done are two different points. I think if you took somebody who makes actual good movies and had them be like, okay, we want to do a hero's journey movie, but we want it starring a woman, which wouldn't really be out of pocket these days, and make it good. I mean, Kill Bill. Kill Bill is a fantastic movie. That is absolutely a hero's journey. The issue is when you put these women in the situations of having to, having to take on the world, whatever it is. And they just are. And there's some man in their way. Or they can't really access their true whatever. And they just are. And the whole story is them just becoming who they really were inside the whole time. Instead of having to become the hero. Two different points, man. You are conflating two different points.
That for every time we do write it for women, it sucks.
Agreed.
That's why we have the Mary Sue. Because when we look at, by the way, I just talked about this with the Sabo brothers not too long ago on their channel. We're talking about Star Wars.
You guys know what Mary Sue refers to, right?
Specifically, but like the hero's journey. Yeah, you could. Can you write it for the one? Yeah, you could, but nobody does. And I'll explain to you why. I'll let them finish here.
Not correct. Number one. Number two, love him or hate him. Okay, I'm going to run the risk at looking like a loser here.
All right, before he does that, No Freedom says men are just better. However, we did have a few good women movies. Also, Kill Bill was effed up, and I understood why he did it. What do you mean it was effed up? I mean, you mean like the contents of the movie itself, or the fact that it was made? Like, Kill Bill was, whew, that's definitely my favorite, between Volume 1 and Volume 2, that's definitely my favorite of Tarantino. That's his name. But yeah, it just doesn't really make sense when you try to, as Rollo was saying, it doesn't make sense when you try to shoehorn that story, that lesson, that moral, that arc into a story. And I lost my thought. So Freedom says, so you know why he did that to her. Who is he? Are we talking about Bill? Are we talking about Tarantino? What are you talking about? No, I lost my thought. So let's go back into this.
Okay. My guess is that all three of those Star Wars sequels probably grossed over $1 billion each.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them good movies. I've never seen Star Wars, any of the Star Wars, and everybody I know hates everything except the original trilogy. I mean, you guys tell me. Does anybody here feel differently? So, No Freedom saying, Bill, why he did that to her. Why he got her, spoiler alert for Kill Bill. So you're asking if I know why Bill shot Beatrix? I mean, I thought it was, yeah, exactly. The as far as I understood, the idea was that she was no longer useful as a mercenary because she was pregnant, and even it's your babe. He's like, I don't give a fuck.
That's my guess. Maybe they.
Yeah, because the fan base is there. Because the fanboys are there. It's fucking Star Wars, for fuck's sake, man.
But again, you have to, Rollo, it is your responsibility to explain why, even though the Star Wars movies made a lot of money, it's still an example of get woke, go broke. Because they made a lot of money, but compared to the reception of the earlier movies, people didn't like them. It doesn't matter how much money Captain Marvel made. People don't like that movie. Why? Because Carol Danvers is not a likable character. Carol Danvers does not have to overcome anything except mean white men. She just is. An accident happens and she becomes the most powerful thing in the entire universe. And the whole MCU 10 years is building up to fighting Thanos, and Captain Marvel just comes in and saves the day. Who can relate to that? Who can relate to that? No Freedom said, "Oh no, I remember that she had his child and then left him for another man taking his child away." Nah, bro, you gotta watch that shit again. They were she oh no, yeah, you're right. I forgot about the fact. You're right. So yeah. Now I'm remembering. So she found out she was pregnant, and then the other chick came to kill her, and she's like, "Yo, here's the I mean, again, spoiler alert for Kill Bill." She's like, "Yo, for real, I'm pregnant," and then she went on the run. She found some other random dude. You are correct. I am incorrect. See how that works? When you're wrong, when you think you know something, and then somebody gives you new information, you just say, "Oh, shit, I was wrong." Now, I'm not wrong anymore. If you ask me why Bill did that to Beatrix, I'm going to be right now. Because I was willing to be wrong. Just that simple.
How about how much do you think the Han Solo movie made? How much do you think Rogue One made? How much do you think like any of the spin-offs are making? It's Star Wars. It's like pizza, man. There's no bad pizza. Well, they made a lot of money. Yeah, but that's not the metric of how good or bad the movie was. It's just how supportive the fan base is. Like, what was it? Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was the first flop.
There you go.
Technically the first flop that Marvel ever produced. But you wouldn't know it by reading the reviews from Rotten Tomatoes, which were bought off by Disney.
Well, again, bad communication. Bad communication. You already saw him use the how much money the movie made in a vacuum, like not in comparison, as a reason why your argument is invalid. So all you're doing is giving another movie that made a shit ton of money. You have to say that it was not a flop. Just compared to every other Marvel movie, including Thor 2, people hate Captain Marvel. This is how wires get crossed. And these are two very smart people who talk for a living. What happens when Joe Blow and Johnny Wannabe are actually trying to talk about something? We have to do better than this, guys. We have to do better than this. If we expect anybody to care about anything that we care about, then we have to do better. Revival, I have never seen any of the Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or any of that. And I heard the new series is woke trash, so not surprised and not for me. Not for me.
Bought off by Marvel. There's a reason why they launched Captain Marvel on International Women's Day, March 8th. I remember the day when it came out.
See, why is that relevant? More sounding like you're just butthurt. That makes a lot of sense. Release the woman Marvel movie on International Women's Day. I have no issues with that. I have issues with her being the strongest character for no reason. Captain America had to dive on a grenade to prove his worth. But, she's a lady, so she just got it.
And Pat Campbell talked about it. They don't care. Money's money. Like you do, honestly, if you're going to use that as a metric of like whether or not, I think even though it made a shit ton, like, just because a lot of people saw it doesn't necessarily mean that was great. It was a
There you
fantastic
go.
movie.
There you go. It's starting to get closer.
Like there's a good series of movies. Also, it has nothing to do with how the characters are written.
Didn't. We've got 1.33 billion here.
And it's Star Wars.
1.074 billion here.
See, if you had made the point, Rollo, if you had made the point that even though they made a good amount of money, that's not a good metric because of the expectation and the other the amount of money the other movies made, then you have a point. Oh no, Captain Marvel is strong as fuck in the comics, but the movie sucks. I have no issue with that. I don't know Captain Marvel's character. All I know is the movies. I don't think I've ever read a comic book in my life. And I fair enough, but it's I can unless the I mean Captain Marvel is an old ass comic. It's not that it wasn't it wasn't that she didn't have to. No, it was whatever her arc is in the comics cannot have been properly translated to the screen. If if it is, then that's just a terrible character. I mean, I don't why. And then the blame goes to Kevin Feige for making that character into a movie instead of another movie. I mean, that's all I got. So No Freedom said, I liked She-Hulk cartoon back in the day, but the movie made you cry. The She-Hulk movie? I didn't know there was a She-Hulk movie. No longer a Marvel fan. When is this from? Because you certainly would not like the new She-Hulk. It is god awful. I'm sure you've seen the clip from the first episode where she, despite Bruce having been, not able to have sex and lost the love of his life, and turned into a Hulk that he couldn't control, and being fought by the entire government, then having to save the world, then being shot off of the Earth and spending two years or however long it was on Sakaar being a gladiator, and then coming back having to save the world again and break your arm by saving the world, and then she goes, I have to control my anger way more than you do. No, you don't. Trey says, I can agree with that. It's definitely a few pieces of that story that's missing. Exactly. How did I know that? Because it sucks. And I know that Marvel is better than that. Because the She-Hulk movie made me cry because I found out I don't know what you're saying.
What was the name of the final movie? I don't even remember the name.
I don't even remember the name of the final movie. Does it matter now? Does it matter? I don't remember the name of the final movie either. You know why? Because it was that forgettable. It might have made $2 billion.
There you go.
But you can't remember the name of it, can you?
Well, fuck. Is this The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker?
I don't care about this.
What was the fourth?
A title you can't even remember.
So, I mean, it's obviously not failing. You can criticize it for whatever you want. It's all exclusive.
It is.
God, the worst thing that people do is when they make their media takes, like they try to like shoehorn that into their like political ideology. Like, oh yeah, like did you know that you can't have like a true hero's journey with a female protect? Yeah, you can. What are you talking about, bro?
Such as what examples? What examples are there? Because right now, certainly not in the 21st century. Let's be honest here. A lot of people, like I had this conversation with disabled brothers, and I explained this. I said, look, here's why the hero's journey doesn't work for women. Because men must become and women just are. So to understand the hero's journey is to have to be a man in the first place to become something more than you are. There's a cycle to it. You can go and I probably should have there's a template for like understand.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with the notion that a fictional story has to be bound by gender. I think there are absolutely ways that people in general, man or woman, have to change their character enough that if that story was told, that we would care. I mean, it's not like there's no impressive women in history. The problem is not putting a woman or making a movie about a woman. It's about what Destiny just said. Except that he's kind of got it backwards. But they're shoehorning the bullshit and sacrificing the story to placate the women who are spending all of this money. The whole thing started about who has more money, who's spending more money. That's what Rollo. That's what Rollo is trying to say, is that because women spend so much money, society's changing for the benefit of women and against the benefit of men. But he's just not doing a good job. And therefore, they're having two different conversations. They're talking right past each other. Luckily, for you guys, I'm here.
Adding the hero's journey. I can go show you here's the phases that you have to go through to go the hero's journey. You find Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? You go through the rest of it, right? And then finally the fight and the conflict and everything, and then the resolution, and it comes full circle.
Again, we already said Kill Bill.
Could you put a woman into that? Yes. You try to, but it's not believable. Or it's usually something like the reason why I used the Force Awakens, whatever the hell it is. The reason why I use Rey as an example is because she was a Mary Sue, and she was the first thing that everybody complained about. They said, "Oh, it's sexism. You're trying to shoehorn all this stuff into your personal beliefs." No, it sucked, and it failed because she was a Mary Sue. Why? Because she just was.
Yeah, no, Freedoms. I tend to. I would not have agreed with this even a couple weeks ago, but I've just been, especially since I realized that since my parents have HBO, like on the TV, I have access to HBO Max. I was watching. What was I watching? Some new Netflix movie. What's the new Kevin Hart movie? Me Time. I was watching that movie with Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. I mean, it's like a 6, but if you're not doing anything, it's something to watch. It's not bad, but it's so woke. And this is one of their mainstream non-woke movies. And I mean, everything on there is about either women or shitty men. And so I'm about ready to call it with Netflix. And I really, really enjoy a lot of their programming, but not any of their new shit. Not any of their new shit. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, Squid Game was pretty good, but what has Netflix done lately? I mean, they would keep me if they just brought back Black Mirror. I don't care if you make those stories about women. Those stories are crazy. Well, but then, of course, they had the Hannah Montana one. What the fuck is her name? You're not wrong, but I mean, you got a better one? You got a better word to use there? I don't know what else to say. It's just woke is woke.
And she didn't have to become. She didn't have to learn to use a lightsaber. She didn't have to learn to do force things, right? She didn't have to do any of that kind of stuff. And this is, of course, the imagination. I also used examples
so
of
who did I
use.
We might be nearing the end of where I wanted to show you guys because, he is very chatty. All right. Black Mirror is one of the best shows ever.
Performance, and we go through these trials and tribulations to become something, right? Whereas when you get like Rey, she already is. She's a Mary Sue, right? She's already, I know how to use a lightsaber just magically, right? Didn't have to do that. Well, the reason why we think that that's a good idea is because the writers who put that together are from that generation of emotionalism. And so we have a Mary Sue written as if it's this is a male character. We're just going to give her tits and a vagina, and then that's
give her the power from the beginning.
Yep. And so, because this emotional society thinks that that's what.
Wait, because it's a male character, you shouldn't have Mary Sue's, whether they're male or female. That's just bad writing.
We give it the name Mary Sue because it's female, dude.
Now, they might have been inspired.
Wrong. It's given the name Mary Sue because that's how, because women or female characters were typically written in a lazy manner. It's not because they are women. It's just that these terribly written characters tend to be the women because we focus on the main character. And certainly on Netflix. Certainly at Disney. You don't get characters like that anymore unless they're male. Yep.
To make her a Mary Sue because she's a female character. That's possible. I think I've given that criticism before. But like,
why is it not Johnny Ray or Joey Tribbiani? I know. Why is it not like we call it a Mary Sue?
I just explained that.
Because it is a female character.
Usually.
That's why. It wasn't Johnny this or whatever. It was Mary Sue.
Because usually the Johnnies are the well-written characters. Otherwise, we're just talking about a bad movie and nobody's pointing out whether one character is worse than the other. I'm gonna, you know, let's let this roll. But I'm done with this. I'm done with this. This guy is really I don't know what the word is. I almost want to say out of his league, but he created this league. But what I really want the panel to be focused on is not whether, we can talk so much about over and over and over about what men do and what women do and why red pill is this and that. What I really want to focus on is the level and skill of communication. So I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to let this play a little bit more. And I really want you guys to come up with something relevant to why Rollo did a bad job. Not whether you agree with him or whether you agree with Destiny or you disagree. That's not what we're doing here. Were they good at communicating what they wanted to communicate?
They weren't making her a male character. They were just making it a shit character. Like, even male characters shouldn't start off like that.
It was a shit character because they are trying to shoehorn a female into a conventionally male role. It was not believable, and you still can't remember the name of the movie, and neither can anybody else.
Right, but it's not because she was a woman. It's not because she was a woman. When you say that, you boil it down to, exactly what all the wokesters think. Oh, she's a woman, so no thank you. This is, antiquated is really the only word that is coming to mind here. And am I wrong? Does he not sound old as fuck with this shit?
The fan base wants to see. They want to see this powerful. We need more powerful women and strong women and independent women leads in our movies. And you know what's kicking their ass? Mandalorian with a little baby. That's what women want. Is baby Yoda. They want Grogu.
God, it makes my asshole clench.
They want baby Yoda.
That wasn't really a response. But the panel is open, guys. I'm going to keep letting this play, and we're going to do one by one. But come on up. First come, first serve.
They don't.
Is it wrong? That was what it was easy to understand. The baby, they don't want Tomb Raider. Women don't want action heroes. They don't want, clearly they don't want, like the number one thing.
Well, they want action heroes. They don't want female action heroes, but they do want female action heroes because all of the people who go see those movies are women. It's just that because they suck, none of the rest of us like that movie. So the goal should be simultaneous representation as well as having a good story. It's not impossible. It's been done before. It'll happen again. Just stop trying to remake everything and, make everything some remake, a reboot, whatever. Make something new. Make something new. Guys, remember, the panel is open. I'm going to play this for a little while. If nobody comes up, then I'm just going to go to bed.
When The Mandalorian first came out, and it was Baby Yoda, whatever the hell, when that came out, like, there's a reason why it was super popular. There's a baby in it. Oh my God. And there's a man, a male character that is protecting the baby. Right? Am I wrong? Right? Why is one character popular and one not? Why was that a runaway success?
I would say yes, you are wrong. I would say I saw the first season of The Mandalorian. That's the only Star Wars, Lord of the Rings shit that I've seen. But I would say it's not because there is a baby Yoda. I would say The Mandalorian was written better than whatever else you're talking about. And I agree that when they try to shoehorn, this, that, and the other into whatever it is, just for the sake of representation, it doesn't turn out well. But it's not because she's a woman. It's because they forgot to do the good writing part. I don't know. Maybe Trey will help me. We got Trey in the building. What is going on, brother? Pleasure to see you.
What's up, my guy? How you doing?
I'm just a little disappointed in Rollo here, man.
I don't know why you're disappointed. I've come to expect this type of behavior from anybody who gets their. Well, I guess anybody that Fresh and Fit gets their ideology from, I can expect this behavior.
Well, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I definitely have the same type of feeling about what Fresh and Fit themselves say. But again, I read The Rational Male by Rollo's book, and it is very fundamental in terms of like all the red pill stuff that came from, or at least a good portion of it came from that book or that series of books.
I guess because I never read it. I guess, needed to read it. Maybe it's a difference. But just listening to Rollo, this is actually my first time listening to him. I've never actually heard of him before. Well, I've heard of him, but I've never actually seen who he was or heard him. It sounds so much like Myron when Myron's having a debate.
Yep.
And down to the analogies, down to
it's frustrating, right? It's like we should be able to develop the way that we talk about this stuff, or at least the way that the channels who mark themselves red pill talk about this stuff should be able to evolve their product, should be able to present the same information in different ways. If you're just going to have the same show every goddamn day, then I only need to watch one episode.
Well, I'll say the thing is, and I think the problem is, I wonder how much of them have real life experience, like real trials and error experience with women.
Of who? Who are you asking that about?
Just like of Rollo. I mean, I know he's married and all, but what was your dating life like before you actually got married? Because I mean, I have real questions, not necessarily a serial dater, but have you actually how are y'all handling talking to women? What are y'all doing when y'all actually talk to women? Because I think that you can bring out all the stats in the world, but
Fresh can do it too.
Real life experiences, I think, trump stats sometimes, just to be real. And I've never subscribed to men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I don't believe in that, because the moment somebody pulls out a stat they don't like, they'll pull out the reasons why that stat is wrong.
I think it's nuanced. I'd never heard that. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie, or what did you say? Stats don't lie, whatever. But
it might just be a Black community thing.
I like that. I like that, because if you use it appropriately, then it's absolutely correct. But as we've seen on this very channel with people like Anirudh, who will take numbers and just throw them at you, just like we saw Rollo do today. He had a point in his mind, and because what was in his mind was backed up by the infographic that he had and the tweets from his boy Rolf, then that's good enough. That doesn't mean that the information on those infographics were incorrect. That doesn't mean that those studies that Rolf tweeted were inaccurate. But it's on Rollo to, first of all, read the study, not just read somebody else's tweet, but read the study and then relay the information as to how it is relevant to our real life experiences.
So, and then that's where I go back into, I wonder what the actual dating life is really like, because you can have all the numbers in the world, but if you've never actually put these numbers to the test, then it's a lot different.
I definitely hear you. I don't think that's the case. You know, like I'm pretty sure the whole idea of spinning the phrase spinning plates was Rollo. Like these again, these ideas that all these red pillars know and espouse, a lot of it came from that one book, The Rational Male by Rollo. And I talk about a lot about Rich Cooper, another bald white red pill guy.
Hey, quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No.
When did the first book come out for Rollo?
2013.
And how long has he been married to this date?
That's a good question. Let's find out.
Because didn't you say like 26 years?
I was just throwing a number out. I have no idea. So Rollo Tomassi. Where the fuck is this wiki? Wiki. What?
And so I'll get to my point while we were looking at it. Because if he wrote that book in 2013, and depending on how long he's been married, he's basically already been out the dating game for 10 years.
Yeah,
by
you're
the
exactly
time
right.
he even writes the book.
You're exactly right. And it's been 10 years since then. So let's see. Personal life. Tomassi has been married for 25 years and has a daughter.
So 2013, you've been married 25. So you were married about a good 12, 13 years by the time you wrote that book.
So this is so let's double check. I think it says as of 2018. Let's do
because it just sounds a little wild hearing a guy that's been married so long talk about marriage the way he does.
You're absolutely right, dude. I did not even and I don't know, his name isn't in this, so I don't know where. Oh, because of the goddamn New York Times, you gotta pay for that.
You can't remember the names of the
Whoa. But that's a fantastic point. He hasn't been single in almost 40 years.
Because I can say this. MySpace changed the game. Like, I was internet dating on MySpace in high school. So by the time we even wrote that book, internet dating is a thing. So I think it explains why a lot of that stats sounds stupid, kind of. Not necessarily stupid like it's wrong, but stupid like, do y'all know what like today's women are like?
Right. And you know, to your point, if so what did No Freedom say? No Freedom said a lot of men who dated many women end up red pill. Correct. But also it says dating has gotten worse. And to your point, that's very very well observed, that you don't know. Who are you to tell me what dating is like in 2022 when you got married in what's 25 years before 2018?
Like 98. You got married in like 98, 99.
That's crazy. I mean,
I was in the first grade
Clinton,
time you got
Clinton
married.
was president when you got married, homie. Like, what are we doing? Or no, maybe Bush Jr. was in by then. But
and that's why I asked, like, does his wife actually watch his channel? Because part of it is like, yo, you can't have a happy household with some of your views and actually being in a house.
Yeah, man, that's really that's a really good point. That is a really good point.
Rollo is single. Like, you would legitimately think he's single the way he talks.
Yeah. So I think this is, especially with you bringing that point up, it underlines exactly what I wanted to do with this stream, and show somebody who maybe 20 years ago, Rollo was the guy to listen to. And I only read The Rational Male. I only read it like a couple of years ago. So the information is not bad, but it's very clear. And it didn't even occur to me until you were talking about his marriage, that there's been a lot of information that I've had to supplement it's not like you can just read The Rational Male and be good and be like, okay, I'm red pill now. And that's because it's just outdated. Now, he has written 3 other books, but he was married that whole time. So the same issue presents itself.
And I think that also comes down to like, where do they actually get these stats from? Like, what women are you asking? Because I've always wondered, like, even when they bring out like election polls and stuff, I'm like, look, who are y'all actually asking about this stuff? But just hearing him talk, hearing how Myron talks, hearing how even like Kevin Samuels would talk, it's like, okay. And you know who I actually would listen to more than anybody, because he seems like at least he's willing to jump out there? It's Fresh.
Really?
Because at least Fresh, you can at least see Fresh is trying with women.
He's trying. I don't know how well he's doing.
But at least, like, oh, it's like, okay, you're not afraid to at least jump off the porch and shoot your shot. Versus Myron comes off with only facts and statistics. This is also the same guy that said it doesn't matter if a girl comes. Like, that's wild to me. That is the worst news you can give. That's the worst advice you can give any young man.
Yeah, I agree with that. But do you? I mean, you don't have an issue with the? I mean, do you think Fresh has over 1,000 bodies?
No, I give him like low triple.
How would you? I mean, how do you know?
The only reason why is just I listened to the one stream that they were doing, and he talked about where he was from, and he was like from a real touristy island where a lot of white women used to come and stuff. So he was basically like, I just did like a lot of exotic.
So here's the thing, though. I mean, like, sure, but like, number one, as No Freedom said, he's a simp, and he got caught. One chick paid him attention on the show.
We know that.
But if he's living in this tourist area, then all of the guys in that touristy area are going to have the same access. So unless wherever he's from, Fresh is the freshest dude there with the best game and the most money, I mean, how is it any different than
that part is supposedly this is from Fresh, mind you. But apparently, but before we even get there, we already agreed that he lied about having over. 1,000%.
So what the number is
doesn't matter at that point.
Is irrelevant because he's a liar.
Facts. I'll give you that.
That's beta shit to lie about how many women you've slept with.
I'll give you that. I 1,000% give you that. I can definitely give you that for sure. Fresh is just funny because Fresh reminds me of me in high school when I didn't know no better.
That man's 30-some years old. He does act like a high schooler. Oh
yeah,
my god.
Yeah, I definitely used to act like. Look, ironically, that's actually how I lost like my virginity, lying and saying I wasn't a virgin. And
nice.
Yeah.
Lies.
I was
the
like,
way to go.
I was like 15, almost 16 when it happened. And I was like, no, I know what I'm doing, girl. I tear that thing up.
Was she a virgin?
No.
That's why I got a lot of them.
And it was early release day was the devil in high school where I'm from. That was the devil.
Mama's still at work.
What?
Now it's time for me to go to work. You know
what? I wish I could just ask Myron, what was early release day like for you?
Well, again, with Myron, he doesn't necessarily. It doesn't seem like he was always Myron. I mean, it sounds like you're more familiar with their content than I am, but from what I understand, he was just, like a dorky guy when he was young. And I mean, not that he was like an incel or anything, but just kind of a regular dorky guy. And then he was in the FBI working at behind a desk and shit. And it's not until he had the podcast that he was able to really be the fit guy that he is now.
So, real quick, you're Indian, right?
Yeah.
And Myron, if I'm not mistaken, Myron's like Sudanese. And where I'm going with this is Myron, if you just actually listen to him, Myron comes from strict parenting.
Yeah.
Like, I was feeling kind of related to you because I remember you talking one time about how strict your mom kind of was. And so I was going to, relate it to like Myron was probably that kid that didn't rebel.
I agree.
And then once he got to like college and he was actually on his own, I think that's kind of like when the real world hit him. And by the time you're finally experiencing life in college, it's too late. Like you're not going to be able to handle rejection, especially in college. And after I say like the FBI probably gave him the confidence that he has today, which is good and great because you.
Hey, we got Darshan in the building. I wanted to be on his stream earlier today, but I missed that. So I'm gonna drop the link to his channel.
I'm gonna have to check his channel out. I ain't get it.
Yes, you
I haven't had a chance to.
Very interesting, especially if you, he's been doing some stuff about religion with a co-host. Not really my flavor, but very interesting, and you can see him getting better at the art of the stream, if you know what I mean. So definitely check him out. I'm going to drop his link in just a second. We skipped. Did I skip another one? So No Freedom says, "Oh no, he can have tons of bodies, and you won't know." I'm surprised at some of my friends' body count. Okay, but then that also comes into like, okay, what quality? Quantity is one thing.
Yeah, that's
fair enough.
That's the talk.
And then he said, people forget that women change men to the men they hate, but love change. That women are attracted to men that they hate but love to I'm trying, brother. Most men turn red pill because they hang around women. Why do people think more than 70% of men raised by only women end up hating, beating, and, as No Freedom says, hurting women? That is a very good point. Definitely,
Just
not
real
having
quick question.
fathers in the household is a big deal.
I'm happy you brought that up because this is a question that's been burning my soul for years. What do we actually call a single mother? Like, is it just based off your
recreation? You set me up for that one. What do you mean?
But is it because there's like their marital status is just single, or is it because there's no man in the house at all? Because if it's the latter, because there's no man in the house at all, that number is drastically lower than we want to give it credit for.
Yeah, no, I would say it's the former. I would say it is the fact that let me just double check that more. Yeah, so I just dropped Darshan's link. Go check out his channel. So no, I think the single doesn't necessarily, like a single mother doesn't necessarily refer to whether she is married or not. I think commonly it is like you wouldn't necessarily call a woman who has children, gets divorced, and then is remarried. You wouldn't necessarily call her a single mother, but because we're often talking about the children and the effect that has on, like the effect that not having their father around has on their life, and the fact that those children are around on the woman's life, I think that's really the focus. So any mother that isn't married to the father of her children. So if you got a baby daddy, you a single mommy.
But
I think that's fair.
I don't, not at all, because I and maybe it's just because I feel like it's a personal attack on myself personally, as someone who's not with his kids' mothers, and who has multiple women, multiple kids by multiple women. I'm very involved in my children's life. Like I'm there. I'm faced right. When I hop off the stream, I FaceTime each and every one of my kids every night. I'm at all their sporting events. I pick them up. I financially fund them as well. So to say that 70% of the
we're not talking about you. We're talking about her.
But there are a lot of. But I think that's like a slap in the face to the people who can actually and do healthily co-parent. Because there are
that's not what we're talking about. We're not. That's not what we're talking about. We're
So-
talking about the dating landscape. So you as a father isn't what we're, or rather, you as a father in relation to how it affects her on the dating market isn't really relevant.
Well, maybe I'm missing the point of when you brought up the statistic then, because it came up more towards the kids' attitudes and how things are going because so many kids are lacking their fathers.
Say that one more time.
Like the way the stat was brought up, and maybe I wasn't paying clear enough attention, but it sounded more so you brought it up as why there's an issue with so many people like being emotional and stuff. And maybe that's why I said maybe I just didn't pay clear attention to how the stat was brought up.
So let's go back to it. So No Freedom says, why do people think more than 70% of men raised only by only women end up hating, beating, and hurting women? And
yeah, so that's why I asked the question.
So that's why we're coming back to this. Your children are not involved in this because it says raised by only women. So if you're in your child's life, then No Freedoms isn't talking about your children.
But that's why I said I think, where do we actually get that stat from? Is it just purely off of marital status, or is it the actual? Is the child like? Is it because that child father is nowhere near around?
I see what you're saying. I think. I mean, I don't know where this stat is from.
Because I hear that stat thrown around everywhere.
Yeah, I've never seen anything specific on this. But I think the notion is, even though I feel like I know you enough to say that I have no reason to not believe that you are doing the absolute best for your children that you possibly can. I have no reason not to believe that. That does not mean that it would not be better for your children if you and their mother were in the same home.
I agree and disagree, but I definitely understand what you're saying.
Which part do you disagree with?
Well, because I've also seen like I said, I come from a very well off place. Like I come from a lot of my friends have 2-parent households. And I've seen where, it's been love and everybody flourished. But then I've also seen the toxic side where my homeboy, he was the youngest. When he went off to college, his parents got divorced. And when I was talking to him about it, I was like, like, you're not hurting. And he was like, bro, honestly, we seen this coming from a mile away. Right. And then when he talked to his dad about it, like a year later, once everything got finalized, his dad was like, I mean, we just stayed together because we had y'all. We thought that was the right thing to do.
Okay.
But he was like, yo, to me, I could tell that y'all clearly didn't want to be together. Like, it was obvious. So I think that's why I say I disagree.
Wait, real quick though. Would we agree that even if the child can see that the parents aren't getting along, would we agree that it's still better for the parents to stay together until the children are out of the house, barring extremes? Like if he's getting wasted every night and beating the fuck out of her, then obviously that's not what.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely
fighting,
not talking about the extremes.
So we would agree that even if the child can tell that mommy and daddy don't love each other anymore, do we agree that it still would be better for them to stay in the same household as the child for the sake of the child? Or do you think that because the child can tell, it's better for them to be separated so that the child doesn't see that?
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you.
That was a question, homie. I didn't make a statement.
Well, no.
Actually, no, I did make a statement. My bad.
Yeah, but
I was drinking a little bit today. My bad. But yeah.
The only slight pushback I have to that is it could also teach your daughter or your son to stick in something that they feel like they might not want to be in at all no more. So it's like,
okay,
I'm like, I see my mom.
Wait. Is that a good message to send, or is that a bad message to send? That sometimes you need to.
I mean, it depends, and I guess it not necessarily extremes, but if I can clearly see like, oh, y'all don't hate each other, but y'all are clearly miserable, or it, like at that point, are you not teaching your child that stay even if you're miserable?
I think at that point you're teaching your child that they are more important to you than your own self. which is exactly what it should be.
Makes
That
sense.
once you have, and this is just a general opinion, not talking about you in particular, but I mean, shoe beds. I think once you have children, your well-being doesn't not matter. It still matters, but you've now entered a realm of existence where you have offspring, and so those offspring have to take precedent over you. You should be willing to lay down your life for your children. It's not good for you if you die, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
But you would jump in front of a bullet for your children, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how is that different than staying with some bitch that you can't stand? Not, and again, I'm not talking about your baby moms. I'm just saying.
No, because I don't mind speaking from personal experience. I can say that, like, with me personally, it got to the point where I knew, like, okay, if I do stick this out, I'm not going to be faithful. Like, I'm going to seek, like, I wasn't happy at all. Just wasn't happy. At that point in time, I was dealing with other issues, though.
Fair enough, but why is that relevant to how you're raising your child?
Because at that point, you're also still dealing with another person. Like, at the end of the day, I still have to, quote unquote, be in a relationship with the mother. Now, me being unfaithful now creates a different turmoil in the house that now my child has to be under as well. So you see how, like, just me making my own decision of, like, hey, I want to step outside because I'm miserable here, can create a different turmoil than me, I guess, having a sit down like we did. Hey, I'm not happy. We've been trying to make this work. It's not working. You know, I trust you that we can co-parent. We're not going to always see eye to eye. That's fine. As long as we act like adults, we can do it. And I was blessed enough and fortunate enough that it worked out for me. Now, do I think that that's the norm?
Did it though?
Yeah.
How so? You have, I mean, you have 3 children from, you said 3 children for 3 different mothers, right?
Yeah.
So,
but when I say it worked out,
wait, we gotta be, I gotta call it as I see it. You've created now 3 children that don't have their father in their home. How is that working out? Or how is that an example of things working out?
I can understand if I'm not as present, like, and like I said, I'm gonna be open with my personal life. I FaceTime him every morning, FaceTime him every night. My son has a cell phone now, so he actually calls me. We talk. I pick him up for practice and sporting events. I do, like, I'm there. Any of my free time, I devote it to them. Financially, I support them. Their mothers know I'm one call away. And again, this is because I'm blessed enough that I had children with adults, so they also help with this process. So
because of all that, it's okay for you to leave children in this world without a father in the home.
I mean, but just because I'm not physically in the home doesn't mean I'm not in my child's life.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. That's
not what I said.
But I'm saying,
we, as No Freedom just said, being together is better for the child. We know this by the data. It's been studied time and time again. There is no question as to whether a 2-parent household is better than a 1-parent household, and it is even having 2 males or 2 females is way better than having 1 parent, but it's still not the same as having a male and a female. And the reason that you said was that you wouldn't be able to stay faithful.
I mean, again,
that's a reason. That's a reason to put your children in the category where they're most likely to end up in jail, most likely to drop out of high school, most likely to get divorced, most likely to have children out of wedlock. All of these things are now more likely on your children because you felt like you need to get your dick wet.
Well, again, it's more than just, I just went to the most shallowest one just because it's the easiest one to convey. But I mean, there were more issues.
So what are there though? My point is, I don't believe that there is, and I'm not a parent, so maybe I'm just ignorant. But I don't know of anything. I don't know of anything that would take out your sex life and put in anything else. And I don't think that matters more than your children's future.
But again, I
So-
don't.
Mhm.
And this is just my personal beliefs. Again, I understand like I said earlier, I understand the stats and data, but I also think personal experiences, trump that. But like I said, that's just my personal belief.
So,
So
I agree. And I want to make clear that I'm not saying that you are a bad father, that you are not making co-parenting.
oh no,
that
I
your
don't think
baby
you're saying that at all.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying as good as you your children have it, they don't have it as good as if you were with their mother.
I personally disagree if it's a healthy co-parenting situation.
No,
I
that's
personally
wrong.
disagree.
Nope. But that's just because you feel like you're a good dad, and I'm sure you are. But it's
just
still not the same.
Not even just take it outside of me. Just because, we can say whatever we want to say about the Black community, but there's plenty of kids that I know who dads wasn't in the household, but their dad was very prevalent in their life, and he raised them just as good. So it's not necessarily
Just as good as what?
Like that they didn't ever go to jail, that they never dropped out of school, that they stayed in high school, got their diplomas, actually got college degrees, actually got married. Like
That's great. But I said just as good as what? So that is good.
Household.
That's good. That's good. They did just as good as. What are you comparing it to?
The two-parent household, as if the father.
They were never in a two-parent household. How can you that? You don't know that. You don't know that they wouldn't have been not just not in jail, but they would have been uber successful. You don't know that because that never happened. Those children were not given that opportunity. You took that opportunity away from your children by not staying together. You don't know. And that's what I'm saying. You can be a great parent, and their mothers can be great parents, and you guys can have a great co-parenting situation, and your children, I'm sure, are wonderful children, and will have a life where they know their parents love them. All of that stuff. I'm saying as high as your children can possibly get in life satisfaction, there's more that you and their mother took away. Do you disagree?
No, I'm making sure I process it so I don't just disagree just to be disagreeing.
Gotcha.
But
so in the meantime, I will say so from No Freedoms, you don't know what your child needs. I knew men who were in the military and were also there for their children, but it wasn't enough. He also says, knowing my father is not in my life and has other kids is fucked up.
No, it's not. But no,
yeah, it is.
it's really,
in my opinion, it is. In No Freedom's opinion, it is. So,
but again, there's there are millions of relationships that are just co-parenting relationships, even divorces that are just normal co-parenting, and it still their child turned out just as good as the quote-unquote two-parent household. So I'm not understanding. I think it's more so as long as.
So here's what let's try this a different way. So you're saying you're comparing children who are in single-parent households to parent. Start that again. You're comparing children who are in two-parent households to children who are in single-parent households. You don't know how good or how good of life quality the either of them in either the other situation. If you flip it around, you don't know because those children have never been in those situations. And so even though that should even be more scary to you, that like, wow, I'm not even in my child's life, and they're being seemingly as well adjusted as all of their friends who have parents together and go down the list. What would it have been like if they had me in their life, in their home? You cannot. This is like people. This is like when when all the Rona stuff was going on, and people who were triple jabbed would get Rona and be like, well, it's a good thing I got jabbed, otherwise it would have been way worse. Like, well, how the fuck could you possibly know that? Have you ever gotten corona without the jab? Then what are you talking about? And so I don't mean to come down too hard on you, but the fact is you're making claims that are not falsifiable. You cannot know if they would have been better off for sure at all. We can't know at all. But we can assume, based on the statistics, that it is infinitely more likely that as good as they have it, it would have been better had they had both parents in the home. Deshaun says, T.I.'s son, King, grew up in a two-parent home, and he's off the chain. That's, and you can flip it around the other way. He's off the chain. What would have happened if he only had one parent? And I mean...
Sounds like the same outcome.
How do you know, though? If he's what does off the chain mean? Let's just put on let's say he's gotten arrested.
I know what he means by off the chain, but
okay. So give me a better picture because I don't really.
Well, I mean, because he's very arrogant. He's been arrested a few times. But the thing is, his comes from being in a 2-parent household that's rich his whole life. So it's almost the complete opposite side of it, because he comes off very arrogant. I come from money, suck my dick, more than anything.
So so then it clearly is a I know what off the chain means. I mean, specifically, what is he doing?
He just got arrested. I think it's for gun possession. And so the question is, if that's where he is with two parents, where would he be without T.I.? Sounds like the same place.
Arguably, but I mean, it's definitely a multifaceted question, but it's really hard to accept the idea that, well, I have my own reasons to give my my kids not as good of a life as I can based on my needs and wants. And that's, I mean, again, that's all you've presented. If you want to talk about other issues besides you getting your dick wet as to why you can't be with their mother, then I'm open to having that conversation. But that's the information you've given me.
And no disrespect, but it's more personal things that, like, I still go to therapy and work out that I definitely not ready to share with the internet type stuff. So I just went, like I said, I went with the more superficial thing just because it was the easiest way to analogize it. But I think, like I said, when I spoke of like a sit down, like me and her had a sit down one day, and I just told her the truth, like, hey, I'm miserable. Like, it's not working. We've tried. We both sat down and been like, hey, you do this that I don't like. You do this. Can we work? We legitimately tried to work it out, and it just didn't work. And so at that point, it's like,
you know what I'm going to say next, though, right?
It doesn't matter. Cool.
Well, no. Well, I mean, kind of, but you're supposed to do that before you have children with somebody.
No, we were, again, it like I said, it's something. So part of it was I witnessed my sister get murdered. So that's where part of some of the issues started coming in. And as I was mentally unraveling from that, because like I said, I witnessed it happen. Like, she died in my arms. So as I was mentally unraveling from that, it was affecting our actual household. Because at this point, I'm the man of the house. Mm-hmm. So she's stressing about the house because I'm mentally unraveling from, what's going on from that. And she's stressing about the house. And it just made our relationship become very volatile. And I just, like I said, I wasn't personally, like, there was more things to it, but personally, I just wasn't in a space where I could even be a functioning man of the house, period. So at that point, we had a talk, and we was like, oh, it's not working. It didn't, I guess because we didn't end with hatred, we ended amicably. It made that transition a lot easier. And like I said, I don't.
Yeah, that's definitely better than the alternative, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm not like I said, I'm never naive to the stats and data, and I understand what statistics say. But I also think that they're okay, just to go off this stat. If we were going to say 70% of the women are, the father aren't in the household, shouldn't we try to help teach co-parenting as well?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And So that was just a little quick point to throw out. But
yeah, I definitely think so. And so, you know, a analogous situation would be like with drug addicts, and you know, like where we have an issue with addiction, and then like take heroin users. So there's an issue with the addiction itself, and then there's other issues of, you know, people getting diseases and stuff. And so that's why there's you know, in Portugal they have shoot up centers. I don't know if they call them that, but you can go to a place, they'll give you a fresh needle, they will give you medical grade heroin, and they will you know, just like you're taking blood, it's almost a medical procedure. And the point is that if you can bring the addicts there, and you're able to, one, obviously make sure they have clean needles and drugs, but then you can talk to them about this and address the underlying issue. So I definitely agree that, you know, there's already people in situations where co-parenting is needed. There's you know, also, like, you know, as much as we say, you know, you should have done done all of that and learned all of that before you had children. Nothing's to say that you guys weren't together for however long, and then something happens, and, you know, I mean, shit happens. People have different types of families. So I definitely agree that co-parenting is something that should be taught. I don't think that it should be at the expense of saying, you know, that at the end of the day, the best co-parenting in the world is still only going to be as good as medium, you know, whatever, normal parenting. I don't know what you call it.
So and again, I do want to say that I wholeheartedly, like, I'm not happy that my kids aren't all by the same woman, and they're, you know, it's not like I rejoice in that. It's not something I brag about, but at the same time, I can also say that how can I say this without just sounding loud?
If it sounds like you're trying to say that even though you didn't put your kids in the best position, given the position they're in, you're doing the best for them. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yes. So I'll say this, and I wholeheartedly believe this. You can work the financial side out. When it comes to taking care of kids, the financial side can always be worked out. But you have to work on the mental side, and mainly with yourself, because there are going to be things like, yeah, I'll be a little more open. There was something that happened to me as a child that when my son actually got to that age that it happened to me at, I started having nightmares about it. And just seeing my son would remind me of, like, what happened. And like I said, if I was more mentally prepared, I think things are a lot different than more than anything. So I always try to preach to young man to always work on your mental at an early age. Forget women. Go work on traumas that you didn't know you fucking had that were traumas. Go deal with those things, because believe it or not, when you have kids, a lot of your traumas come back. Because even just looking at your child, like looking at your child, and you'd be like, oh man, I remember when I was that age. But you also remember the good and bad of that age. And depending on how bad something was, it can really fuck you up. And I represent a story of young men that we don't necessarily talk about, as far as I don't have no kids out of just one night stands. Believe it or not, I was legitimately in 3 different relationships that all just failed. And when we talk about it, men, just how you just think of like Future, but you don't think of men that were trying to be good men, but their own personal demons fucked up everything. And granted, we need to teach men how to work and deal through that more than anything than leave. Like I do regret leaving at times. Like there's been times where I sit down and be like, yo, I could have did things a lot different. but also knowing at the same time, just because I made mistakes doesn't mean that I can't be a good father.
Absolutely, that's absolutely true. I want you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you know what I would say as, you know, someone who's a little bit older but not a father, so I have no experience with you know, with having kids, anything like that. What I would say is that I understand, you know, that, you know, you don't want to share your whole life story on the internet, but I would question, even though the you know, the stepping out is all you were really comfortable sharing in terms of the reasons why you didn't stay with your children's mothers, is there another reason that actually holds water, where at the end of the day that is a good reason why these children have to deal with XYZ? That's where I would say, you know, I think that's a poignant question for your life based on what we've been talking about.
It's something I still deal with now. Actually, I just had a little spat about it before I got on your live stream. My opinion would get trumped by her family's opinion. So my middle child's mom, that was the most serious relationship I had. Like, we even almost got engaged. We were going to get an apartment closer to Dallas, which is where I'm from. We were living in a town that's probably like 45 minutes outside of the city. So we was going to get somewhere in the middle so I could be closer to my first child. And it was fine. We got the place. We even got approved. I gave her the money for the deposit. But she out of nowhere has a conversation with her sister. And next thing I know, she didn't pay the deposit for an apartment and then already signed the lease. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? Like, why did you didn't even call me to talk about this? And she was like, well, I was just talking to my sister and my mom, and they thought I should be closer to them. Like, you know, and it's like, but we had a discussion about our household.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's that. When family gets involved, man, it really gets tough.
and it got to the point where it was getting out of hand. Because again, I'm kind of secluded, because at this point I'm outside of the city from where I'm actually from. I got a few friends out there, but it's not my friends. So it got to the point where I was secluded. Now I'm starting to even get my voice over Trump in my own household as well. So that, plus what I was going through already, plus what we were going through, it just snowballed effect to the point where it was like, it is probably best that we end this before we get to the point of hatred.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I mean, I don't think that changes, you know, the notion that that's all stuff that should have been figured out earlier. But you know, we don't need to go around in circles. So no freedoms here says the problem in the Black community and now others is that everyone thinks they are different. We believe that just because it worked for me, it can work for others, even when my life is not so good. Took me a while to realize this in myself. My pride, knowing my parents failed me, was hard, and then I failed myself in relationships, etc. Was my fault. And then he says, "Oh, a gangster family raising kids." Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if T.I. is a great example for us normal folk. I think his celebrity has more to do with how any of that goes than anything else. So No Freedoms goes on to say, dude, everyone has issues. It is our jobs as adults to not allow that to affect our kids. Kids are not man of the house. They're just kids. Mothers need to stop creating house husbands. Facts. No Freedoms. We got a couple more, and then I'll go back to you. Kids don't need money. Kids need parents. Well, I mean, I would say they need both, but definitely understand your point there. Look at all these rich white kids going crazy. Don't put your shit on your children. You will fuck up your children. Trust me, it will. And unfortunately, there's no two ways about the fact that you failed when picking your mate. This is why you want to know what her family is like. You want to know what her life plans are. You want to know how she behaves in stressful situations. You want to know what she sees in you specifically, so that when things aren't as rosy and flowery as they can be at their best, what is she going to do? Where is she going to be? What is she going to think? And how is she going to act? If you don't have all of that down, you shouldn't be having children. That's just my opinion. But again, I don't think at all that means that anything along the lines that you're not a good father, that your kids are going to be fucked up, that your baby mamas or this, that, or the other. None of that. It's all about comparative and relative and what could be versus what is, and dealing with the reality, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I definitely don't think you're like beating down on me or anything. Besides, my skin is thick enough that if you was, it wouldn't matter. But
I appreciate you, sharing with us, because it's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff to hear real stories and to be able to talk about this stuff, not just in the abstract, but in about real people.
Yeah, and I'll just say this to No Freedoms. When you do have those conversations, what I've learned, especially dealing with women, when you do have those conversations, you do find out that shit changes when the meat actually hits the grill. And it's still no excuse for anything that, you say. But what I will say is, like, again, I had my second and third child. I had them a year into the relationship. Definitely didn't plan for it. Granted, I shouldn't have been raw dogging a year into the relationship, but hey, so you're in a relationship. What you gonna say? But it, again, like I said, I think so many people just assume because you had a kid, you had it like the first 2 months, or it was a one night stand.
I can understand how it can feel that way, but to someone like me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it was 4 months or 4 years. If you're not if you're not going through the vetting process, then you're just fucking around. You're not intending to build a life with this person. You're not intending to test them. And Darshan's got to run. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for contributing. Always love when you're here. Everybody go check out Darshan's channel. Link is in the chat. Just scroll up a little bit. Sorry, you're saying?
Oh no, I kind of lost my train of thought. What was your point first? And then
again, just the notion that we have to accept accountability, that we can't know the things that we can't know, but we have to do our best to learn what we can about our situation in order to navigate it properly. When we're talking about a relationship, we're talking about children, then it may come down to the fact that, hey, until I'm 25 years old, I don't know what I don't know. And so I'm not going to have children that early. Like you said, they weren't planned, but that lack of a plan, I mean, we've all done it. I'm only sitting here in a point of privilege because I got more lucky than you did. I'm busted in, I mean, I've been there. I've had scares, I just got lucky. So it's not about big dogging you or anything like that, but or anybody else who has children out of wedlock. But I was equally irresponsible. It's not that, well, we're all a little irresponsible, so you get a pass. And I don't. None of us get a pass. It's just that I don't need one because I don't have any children.
So I don't know. Maybe just because I think I am of the notion that. So I live my life a little bit more on the shit happens side. So I tend to roll with the punches more, or like, not like, oh, I'm surprised this happened, but like okay, and adjust, instead of not necessarily planning ahead because I'll have a plan, but I'm more so I'm gonna go, and if shit changes, keep going. So
Is that
it
working out
wasn't
for you?
yes and no. Yes and no. And I think that just comes with living life, that everything doesn't work out all the time. And and like I said, I go to therapy. So I'm actually, sitting down and working myself out and understanding where, but I knew back then that it was me. I knew when shit fell apart, it was me. Thought I fixed myself, went into another relationship, and it was like, oh, I didn't fix myself. That's on me. I understand that. So maybe I should put that part out there first, that I understand my mistakes more than anything.
Sure, but understanding is one thing, but learning from mistakes is what matters. If you keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Well, yeah, and that's why I say I take the actual I'm taking the actual steps, and even then I went back and healed open wounds that, that I didn't even realize I caused. And it took me going to therapy. It took me actually sitting down with my kids' moms and being like, hey, what did I specifically do wrong with you? It took just a lot of things and learning. And granted, like you said, you vet and you vet, and if you're not trying to build, then you're wasting your time. I would also add in that it just depends on how you both can maintain heat. Because if I can maintain heat, she can't maintain heat, it's going to fail. If she can maintain
what do you mean by that? By maintain heat?
Trials and tribulations in the relationship, in just parenting, in just the marriage, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So if one of you can't, whether it's her who can handle the pressure of this and you can't, or whether it's you that can handle the pressure and she can't. A lot of times, honestly, and it's fucked up and unfortunate, a lot of times people don't find out until the trials and tribulations come. And agreed, it shouldn't matter. And I already know where you're going with it. It doesn't matter. But I think that's just when it actually happens, where you find yourself going the other way, or you find yourself, either staying and being miserable, or you find yourself being like, hey, let's just break up and go our separate ways.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So I think I want to, I want to leave you with two thoughts. The one I said before about, whatever it is that you feel was appropriate for you to leave your children's mothers. You talked about the physical thing, and that was, as much as you're willing to share. Is there something else that you can, and this is something for you to think on. Is there anything else that can be plugged into that variable of I knew it wasn't going to work because of this? If it's not sex, then it's not that. Is there anything you could plug in there that makes it okay for that sentence to end in, so I left my I left my children? So that's number one. And then number two is, again, the question is, how is it working out for you to just be flying by the seat of your pants? And a subcategory for that is, what would it cost you to actually put some thought into your future, into making some plans, so that you are the one creating your path and only having to adjust for slight slight changes, because your life isn't going to go exactly as planned no matter what your plan is. But if you don't have any plan, that's not going to work out well.
I have plans. Maybe I left that part out. Maybe I need to work on my speaking.
No, I mean, we don't. I don't have to know.
No, I'll answer those in the Discord for you, for sure. Like, I'll actually give you an answer to those.
Awesome. And I really, I'm, on the level that I'm curious, I'm definitely curious, but I do also very much care. I definitely I definitely care. Let's real quick get to No Freedom's comments here. He said, "Kids are our future. I don't put my wants over my children's lives. I know we have needs as humans, but it is time for us to do better. I will never allow my child to have the life I had. It's not on you. You put that on your kids now."
Oh, my kids don't nowhere near live the life I had.
I don't think not that, but the life that they're going to have is now the issues that have caused you to leave the household, regardless of what they are. It's not their fault, and they are being negatively affected by it.
Oh yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's my kids' fault either.
Sure.
Again, well, no, because at that, like you said, we're beating a dead horse at this point. But I'll just say this, and I think a lot of young men with kids can attest to it, that a lot of things that we did have planned, a lot, you will find out that a lot of us actually do have plans. A lot of us did have an ideal of where we wanted things to go, and even some had it mapped out. I think, and I don't know how true it is, and I hate to even say it, but I've always heard it because I hear it from women when they talk about their emotions change after pregnancy. It's a little bit true. I don't know how true it is, but I can say from personal experience, some emotions definitely did change from before you were pregnant to after. But it doesn't make it right. Again, I don't, like I said, I regret my decisions. I also don't think that I would be as motivated as I am today without a few of my mistakes. As weird as it is to say, and I don't recommend this for no man, so please don't take me as a catalyst.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair because just to for anybody listening, I can hear or I can hear how that could sound bad and say, well, I'm glad, and this is not what Trey is saying. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are not saying, I'm glad I fucked my kid's life up because now I know what I'm. That's not what you're saying. I understand that, but I could hear, I could see how somebody else could hear it that way.
But
I don't want them thinking about you like that.
I can't.
We know you're a good dude.
Me having my first son was the kick in the ass I needed. Because if not, I would definitely go just be a sit on the couch pothead. I mean, I had a decent job, but it was good enough just to make sure I had my rent paid and I had enough for weed. So, you know,
here's the thing. When that's not irresponsible if you don't have kids. That's my life, bro. But
no, what I'm saying is I had no desire if even wanted to better myself at that time. Me actually finding out that I had a son, like I said, was the little kick in the ass I actually needed to better myself, like as an actual man. And I would definitely say that I don't recommend my lifestyle, and the main reason why I don't recommend my lifestyle is only because you do have to juggle 3 personalities, you know, and that could be a headache.
I can't even fucking imagine, bro. And
like that's again, and it's not as bad because I do deal with adults, so I can't say that, but
you're not gonna end up in a TikTok video because you only brought McDonald's for one kid.
Oh no! Ironically.
All right, let's read this last comment from No Freedoms, and then I'll give you the floor. So he says, women do change a lot. However, most of the time, women don't show their true selves until years later. That's why you have to vet. But you are correct because they do change, but put someone.
I ain't gonna lie, No Freedom. If you think I'm gonna be in a faithful relationship with a woman for years and not wear a condom, you're losing your mind. If I'm in a faithful relationship with a woman and it's just me and her, I'm gonna not use a condom, and I understand my consequences.
But do your kids understand those consequences? You made that choice, but you're saying I'm gonna make that choice for these children that now have to live in a world where their father doesn't live with them because I wanted to feel a little better.
Is it a little bit better though? I mean, but
it is a little bit better.
I'll say this. It depends. Again, like you said, they're the super toxic ones where it's like, all right, y'all need to be apart. But like I said, I think
that wasn't you.
Yeah, of course not. It wasn't it. It could have got there, but it definitely wasn't. But I'll just say that I don't even want to say shit happens because that's just the bullshit excuse.
No, I hear you. And it does. Shit does happen. You know, we when we're, especially when we're young, we don't, the whole point is that we don't have the foresight to understand the gravity of our choices. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make it's just a matter of fact that it would have been better for your children to be in a 2-parent household. And so when we know that, then we want to enforce socially the things that we know that are going to be better for children.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm gonna close it down unless anybody else is coming up. But either way, I'm gonna give you the floor. Last words for the people, and any social media, any waiting for you to start that channel. Whatever you have, let the people know.
Well, the trademark is pending because we wanted to trademark the name first. But the Uncool podcast is coming very soon, as well as my personal side channel, where I just want to help young men co-parent and deal with the child support system. I believe life experiences is the best way to teach our young men, and conversations like this. No freedom. I respect your opinions. I respect you as a man as well, and I understand exactly what you're saying. You're 1,000% right. IndianJesus, because it's blasphemy because of my religion. But IndianJesus, man, I love your channel. I'm always gonna be here, and like I said, I'm gonna answer those questions for you in the Discord. So we'll finish our conversation.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I really, really, really do appreciate you coming up here and sharing so much of your life, especially when you know that we're gonna hold you to account. So that takes balls, and that takes balls.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is. I like young men to see all sides instead of just the stats. Let's look at some young man who has lived and learned and made mistakes. So I feel like I'm one of the best people that could teach them because I've learned from my mistakes. I live trial and error, and I want to try to teach young men so they don't have to live trial and error.
Beautifully said, brother. Beautifully said.
But
all right, man.
I'm finna go FaceTime my son because I know he's the only one still up, and I'll speak to you in the Discord, man.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Say hello to him for me. All right. So it's we started talking about Rollo and the red pill and this and that, and the bottom line seems to have been that responsibility and accountability. And I think it's hard to hold someone to account to their face, even when they're on an avatar on this big on the screen. Okay, that big, and his avatar is about that big on the screen. But that's a real person on the other side. That's somebody that I mean, I never met Trey, but we've been hanging out 3 times a week for hours for the last couple of weeks. You guys are becoming my friends for real, and so I do care about you guys. And I again, shout out to Trey for having the balls to come up here and be honest, because it doesn't sound nice, and it's easy for us to say, oh well, you should have did this, you should have did that, you should have did that. And no freedom saying it sounds like a nice dude, but he reminds me of someone I know that has too much pride. I'm gonna push back on that, and I think he said he's working on he's working on this particular stuff in therapy now, and he's a young buck. I think as he gets older, he'll see a little bit more along the lines of like, okay, well, yes, this is miserable for me, or blah, 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 but these are my choices that I made, and I'm not going to put them on my children. And it's not that he doesn't know that now, but it's tough when it to put yourself in a position where you know that like if you're in a relationship and you know you're not happy, I don't know how easy it is, literally, because I don't have any children. I don't know how easy it is to ignore that and say, okay, for the next 2 decades, I'm going to submit myself to misery, even if it's for my own children. Hey, we got Dr. Evil Genius in the building. Panel's open, brother. The link is pinned if you want to come up. He says, not interested in none of the people featured in today's stream, but I'm here to show some love and drop a like real quick. Well, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Catch us on the Filthy Casual MMA Watch Party on the Talking Shit Podcast YouTube channel. Every UFC card. Thank you, brother. So, I mean, it's easy. It's easy to say, oh, you should have did this, you should have that, you should have that. Well, like I said, I've had pregnancy scares. I've done some shady shit. And even when it has nothing to do with we're not, whatever that is, I'm gonna imagine it's a heart. It's a big heart for me. That's what I'm gonna imagine it is. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes, and it's just by luck that I am not in the same position as Trey, at least with one child. I'm pretty sure I would not be raw dogging girls if I had an accidental child. But that's just me. And shit does happen. I don't know if it's the best plan to go by the seat of your pants, but I definitely didn't have strict plans when I was in my 20s, even late into my 20s. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't have to because I didn't have any children. But again, that's because I was lucky enough to not inseminate the girls I busted into. I mean, lucky. So take that for what it is. You know, at the end of the day, you can say luck or whatever, but the point is, some of us have children and some of us don't. Some of us are in relationships with the child's mother, and some of you are not. And that's the part that matters to the children. That's the part that matters to the children. And this isn't, some like our children are the future. I mean, they are, but that's not what I'm preaching here. What I'm really preaching is communication. That in the same way, so I'm going to tie this in together. In the same way that Rollo was incapable of communicating the point that he was trying to make, even though this is what he does, and still expected Destiny in a stream. It's not like they were live either. He expected him from one moment in the stream to 2 minutes later in the stream. Like, this is already recorded, bro. But anyway, he expected him to take these random numbers and all. He just was not communicating effectively. And just like in our own personal lives, we need to communicate effectively. Words mean things. Use your words and mean what you say. It's a lot more complicated than it sounds. Actually, it's not. It's a lot harder than it sounds. But it is exactly as simple as it sounds. So do with that what you will. I am nobody's daddy. Thankfully, I am only your Jesus. I am your Lord. No, but I'm not here to tell anybody how to live your life. I'm just here to share my opinion on how we do it. So, again, thank you so much, Trey. I really do appreciate you coming up and sharing so much with us. Thank you to you guys in the chat. Make sure you hit the Discord. In that description, we got the link to the Discord. The party never ends. The party rages on. I'm about to get off of here, but we gonna do our own thing. Now, unfortunately, HBO blocks out their Cat Jesus. Who the fuck is Cat Jesus? Fuck. No, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately, HBO Max will. I don't know what we did the first week, but somehow we bypassed the screen blocking that they do. So if you try to screen share, it just looks like this when you pull up the not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. So unfortunately, we're not able to watch that as a watch party, but we're doing other stuff. We're hanging out, talking all day. I'm planning other stuff. Just fucking join the Discord. Also in the description, as well as rolling across the bottom of the screen, my support links. If you would like to help out the channel, aka help me out, you are broke Jesus, that would be much appreciated. But you don't have to do that. You have done plenty just by spending time here watching. I appreciate that so much, and I don't need anything but that. Your time is so valuable to me, and I really do appreciate it. So I hope you guys will join me again. I hope you enjoyed this stream, and I hope you'll join me again on Wednesday. Maybe tomorrow if I'm feeling frisky, but definitely every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here. And I don't know, guys. I think this was a very interesting conversation. I'm for those of you who are familiar with when I was doing the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast, sometimes I would finish a conversation and I'd go do the solo segment afterwards, just kind of like this. And a lot happened in the conversation directly before. And sometimes I just tell you guys, hey, I don't really know exactly what to say right now. I'm just going to take some time to sit on it. And Trey shared a lot with us, and I saw a lot from Rollo that I didn't expect to see. So there's a lot that I have to sit on. So I don't exactly have a witty whatever for you, but I want to thank you guys for hanging out. I want to tell you that I appreciate every moment you're here. Even if you can't support the channel monetarily, it is absolutely free to like, to comment, to subscribe, to ring the bell, to tell your friends, to share it on social media, to participate in the community tab. I've been posting there almost every day. So if and 70% of you guys said that you're on YouTube every day, so make sure you check the community tab on my channel for fun stuff. There's always something going on over there. There's always something going on in the Discord. Until next time, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the party. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.